Reframing Mindset podcast, where I clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset podcast. My name is Consider, and this episode is about um, okay, so this episode is about becoming a naturalized citizen and stuff like that. And basically, boom, I got my ID and all this after all these years. And what happened is that boom, growing up in a country and stuff like that. Boom, name calling is a thing. And nothing, I guess, and that's the thing about life. You don't know what life is until the end. You'll be like, oh, name calling, but being called the right name is that. But the thing is, so boom, one of the next benefits now of actually becoming a naturalized, getting an identification and stuff like that. So when people call by a name and stuff like that, they have an identification, and I actually do it in real life. But yeah, but that's the thing where you'll be like, oh, right, listen, depending between the streets or whatever streets, gangster life or something. I don't really know about the gangster life, but I was, back in the days, not as established as I am now. But home with me having an ID, I could actually go out in the streets and stuff like that. So suppose somebody call me like bro man or stuff like that. I could show them just like when you go out and you're driving now and it's like license and registration, please. And you show them your license and stuff and have your name. You can actually show them your ID now and be like, oh, that's the name that's on the ID. If you have information like, oh, what's my complexion, brown? Like, oh, let me call it by your complexion. I'm a brown person. So it's like, yeah, we can actually do that now. But yeah, but actually, the difference between you can with the ID now, you can actually differentiate between a smart and a dumb person. Be like, oh, show them the ID and like, oh, if they can actually say, oh, it's calling the Smith bro. Okay, so yeah, that's what's on the ID. I'm gonna call it that. But I prefer to call you by your complexion, which is a brown man. They could actually explain that. I'm like, yeah, that is, that is a professional way to do it. It's like, yeah, like when I reach certain ages, certain certain stuff, that's the thing where I be like, oh, the reason why, oh, certain stuff is actually not as funny when you actually reach a certain level. Like, oh, we leave high school and be like, oh, and so it's like that's the thing. That's the thing where I be like, certain stuff where I be like, certain stuff that is actually laughable in certain levels becomes not laughable in future levels. That's the thing where I be like, oh, that's the thing where I be like, yeah, so it's like violence, certain violence and stuff like that. Certain stuff is so that's basically this episode. Be like, oh, certain violence and stuff like that is actually counterproductive than productive. Or that's the thing where I be like, oh, it it depends. So this episode is basically for me. I be like, oh, on my road to reaching where I need to reach. It's like, oh, yeah, we actually I actually had to get that established. So growing up, getting the name called all these stuff now. I know I have actually have an ID. Well, I have IDs before, but no, this is the reason why in a working world and stuff like that. Why I have things like in my personal experience where I have things like certificate and stuff like that. We actually see that. Oh, that's your actual name. So we actually have a name. So it's like call us by your name, and it's like. So it's like those are stuff where we like um though that's the thing where we like in this year of actually watching in this year episode we be like oh, certain stuff actually have to restate because it's obvious for both sides for both me and the listener to be like oh okay we actually established we actually reaching somewhere we're actually reaching somewhere now, and yeah, we're actually establishing ourselves. And like, okay, yeah, now we have an identification. Our we're being identified and stuff like that. Our what happens is that boom, you go out in the streets, you go out in the streets, and be like, oh my god, you learn certain stuff. And be like, oh, you were growing up in a culture where certain stuff wasn't be like, oh yeah. But yeah, yeah. So it's like boom, you do that and then stuff like that. But no, you have an identification to show like yeah, that's our actual name now. So it actually saves time now. We're going like, oh, that's our actual name now. We actually have stuff to move on. So it's like those are stuff now that actually going a somewhat dangerous neighborhood or stuff like that. Having those identification in check, it doesn't really decrease or stuff like that your chance of getting stuff like that. But at least if you die, you die respect. When the actress see identification, be like, one check your credentials, like, oh yeah, this boy is legit. It's like those are the stuff you actually be like, oh, your respect is actually your greatest currency. And like always. Like that's basically what every each level, even if my stupid levels, my respect is always our currency. It's like oh boom, no matter how you say it, like boom, name calling or respect is always our currency. That's basically it. So this episode now is just a thing to kind of digress, because we passed through the phase of name calling. You have the great Adija Palmer now that's actually free now. So we actually gone through those phases. That those are stuff that actually kind of re-established now. We actually moving on from certain stuff. Then I'm going to the driving phase of my life, and seeing people if I'm driving and stuff like that, showing license and registration. This is the first time I would actually be able to drive in my car. And it's like, oh, show me my license and registration. We're like, oh, bro, man. I was like, it's not bro, man on the ID still. Apparently, I was born with a name, which is Colin, and in 2025 is actually Colin Smith Brooks. So, it's actually, it makes sense to call us by our complexion, but we actually had a name. So it's like, those stuff is for re-establish in those stuff. Like, these stuff were actually obvious. But each level, you actually have to re-establish that. Oh, yeah, we actually had these stuff. We actually had these stuff. So those are stuff that we actually. Sometimes each level, on your journey out of whatever situation you're in, we actually have to re-establish things at each level, and that's the basic thing at each episode. Where we like, oh, certain stuff and these are things that are actually obvious. Where we like, oh, you earn respect, and be like, oh, but at the same time, you can't be stupid. Not because you're high. You're supposed to be like, oh my god, we're supposed to call a bro man out. It's like no. It's like there's actual levels of stupidity at, at certain levels where be like, oh, you know, you wouldn't have me or this going this level. You wouldn't have me if you weren't at a certain level. So because I exist, you actually demand a certain respect. So what I mean is that if you're so low that I that's the thing we're going like, oh, this going established into going to your my would be my 29th year is that we establishing the fact that now if you would not meet me if you weren't at that level. So that means that oh you a BSc would not have meet me or a MSc would not have meet me if I was not a BSc. Stuff like that. So it's like, those are high level of respect. We'll be like, okay, no, the respect has to actually be those are stuff they're going to this year. We'll be like, okay, I passed through that phase, the pandemic phase and stuff like that. Are stuff are you achieve a certain victory? That's the thing about certain stuff. you achieve a certain victory, and when you actually achieve a certain victory, it becomes a luxury. And be like, okay, now we're going back to normal and stuff like that. So you have to actually re-establish what what you are. You'll be like, oh, yes, I'm actually this person. You know, you can call me the names, but bro. So that's the thing about renewing things like identification and stuff like that. We'll be like, oh, those are the ways now of re-establish. You can fall off a certain level, but you have to keep on re-establishing who you are. Like, oh, like where you go, you'll be like, oh, you know, I went to certain interviews and rejected, but don't like people like, oh, don't mess up. I'm actually who I say I am. Like everywhere I go, I am who I actually say I am. So it's like, those are stuff that keep on re-establishing. Like, oh, we are who we say we are. And it's like, oh, yeah. So it's like those are the stuff we actually re-establish. Going to your 30th year and stuff like that. Oh, like you don't want to be a violent person. And those are the stuff where be like, oh, with the great Adija Palmer now free. And that's the thing where be like, oh, you pray somebody in their youth and now you get older and be like, oh, you avoid all the pitfalls that they actually do. Be like, oh, we don't become that person. Because he's a person that paved the way and all these stuff and did something. So even though I'm going out and be like, oh, I grew up in a Christian home, so he was a first girl in the same country. And oh, he did his stuff. He did his stuff, and boom, he reached a level. And because he reached that level now, he actually got to jail. So that's the thing. Be like, oh, each level you go, you actually can make an obstacle. And next thing is that you have to actually re-establish yourself. Each level, be like, oh, we are who we say we are. And it's like, sometimes we're like, oh, fun and jokes and stuff like that. But and that's the thing where be like, yeah, sometimes I actually go through school and certain stuff. I love playing games and stuff. And that's the thing where be like, at this level, you have to re-establish. And that was the thing where be like, oh, that was the mistake of those years that I'm actually going through this year. Like, oh, my passion is my passion. So I have to re-establish the respect of my passion. Okay, I love playing games, so put respect on the games that I play now. So when I go to school now, back in the days, I'm like, okay, we couldn't out there so much. If you actually listen to my stories now, you have to remember those the 12th grade years, bro. 12th grade years when the teacher come in like, oh my god, no game playing and stuff like that. Because what? I was underperforming then due to situation. So what I had to do? Overperform. Like, show them that okay, yeah. So that would be the next level. Like, oh, in this level, be like, oh, show them that and going to this level, be like, oh, show them that okay, I deserve to play this game. Like these are the stuff where be like, oh, breaking out of this is where be like, oh, we all deserve to play this game. And that's the next level. These are the things that are not with the with a bachelor and stuff like that. You actually earning the right to to be to be what you are, to be what you are. Like, oh, reestablish and what do and even I said before this was the podcast. Before this stuff, before the podcast, I was actually you know, this about what happens. Actually, I got interested in the podcast as well. But as I said, with everything in a country, you'll be like, oh, you have to re-establish, coming now as an adult, coming re-establish, go make it a business and stuff like that. You have to actually, oh, what is your social income, stuff like that. You have to re-establish that stuff. But at the same time, when I actually do it now, you have to remember that you suffer passion, when once you actually start doing it full time, you actually leave the fun out of it. So even stuff like politics or stuff, everything, religion, all these stuff, and these stuff are actually obvious. Like, oh, everything is a passion until you start trying to make money from it. So you until this time comes to pay up. And when the pay up time comes, be like, okay, now it's time to actually reestablish and be like, okay, no, we actually deserve to do these stuff. So these things are obvious, even the fans that listen. These things are obvious, but this episode is actually just to re-establish those stuff. Be like, okay, yeah. These things are obvious to all of us, but all of us aren't as smart. Are are the reason why our reestablish the reason for the podcast is certain stuff aren't people are fast enough to catch or take time to catch. So those are certain stuff. So it'd be like, okay, the podcast is there to actually come in and be like, okay, we give them some time to actually catch up and stuff like that. Or stuff like, or give me a way to actually come in and be like, okay, these are stuff I wanted to say, but you know, in the real world, you have the gangster and the people there. So, that's the thing. I'd be like, okay. Like, if you actually listen to the podcast, in the real world, I would have been dead already. Or I was dead already. But these are stuff I would actually say in a competent world. So that's the thing when actually I leave university, actually not in a competent world. So that's the reason why I somewhat in the free world now with the world about being free, it's actually a very messed up situation. But I kind of understand. You actually understand. You go through understand. I actually love my university. You get the people actually tell us to read stories and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, these are stuff that actually happen. So it's like, no, we actually understand. We are, we don't no understand that situation fully, because how we know that lawyers, lawyers, occupations, got them all. Occupations got them all. So it's like, just like, oh, boom, stuff like that. But hey, so that's the thing about this year. I'll be like, okay, we actually, no, so what happened that this year was basically, like every year was a draw from what happened, what I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I have to re-establish certain stuff for myself. And it's like, the podcast that way to actually keep me say, okay, re-establish those stuff for myself. Because, each level you go is more harder and stuff like that. As like, it's not harder for, and it's harder, and it makes you have to actually be like, okay, yeah, it's harder for a reason. And it's like, okay, I said reestablish, and I say, okay, yeah. So this is the reason for the podcast. When actually reach this level now, and be like, okay, the name call and stuff like that. We actually been through it. We actually been through it. You know, we're out there to try and do the science stuff, the gaming stuff, and in the which actually in the real world is in in the world I'm from, it's not respected. It's not respected. So it's are not respected a certain way. And it's like, so it's like, those are trials to go through each year. Be like, okay, you have the chance out there to go and join the masses or be the 1%. Or be the 1%. It's like, those are stuff. And that's with everything. So it's like, okay, and that's the thing with everything. I be like, okay, why the hell I not um career as a luxury? Boom. Once upon a time, people out there so politics and stuff like that. There was a time when a country didn't have that. So it's like those are stuff that re-establish. Be like, okay, I could not care about it. I love playing my games and chilling now. But after that's the reason, that's the thing about growing up with my family. So it actually remind us of the days that we did have those stuff. We'd be like, okay, yeah, there was a day. And that's the thing where we like, school is always the fun. And even I always regurgitate, school is always one of the, no matter how hard it goes, school is always one of the fun stuff, because it takes a time, even the class that you don't like and stuff like that. With time, you actually like the subject, but just that the person actually teaching actually does are the constraints of reality at the time makes what would be fun not fun. And what do I mean by that? Something like history. History, if back in my school days, me studying something straight like history, bro, I would hate it. I would actually not enjoy it, bro. But when I actually do in 12th grade, I actually do carry on civilization, bro. Even though we did bad and those stuff, those stories, bro. Usually go and hear, bro. Even my reality, even my reality back then in the high school days, those stuff were the days, bro. learning those stories, bro, and stuff like that. And what happened with those stories was that at that time, they said the people they this first, but in when actually reach this level now, you'll be like, oh, that I passed through something like a pandemic. And be like, oh, and you have new people born. And be like, there's a reality of a version of a world that didn't even know about the coronavirus pandemic. There's a version of reality that people know that actually didn't know about that. And it's like, oh, stuff like that. So that's the thing where be like, okay, and actually reach a certain level. Sometimes you have to re-establish, and that goes both sides for both um party and both situations. Sometimes you have to re-establish who you are, not for all is a declaration as well. But it's like some with, with fun and all these stuff, but at the same time, I guess I always go back to basketball. I guess the culture of basketball, bro, is always this stuff. But at the same time, bro, I love the podcast. I love the podcast, bro. So we're out there, so we do the podcast. I love the gaming, bro. And these stuff are coming to reality, bro. So what happens is that in a reality now, in a different reality now, because I was actually not a performer, bro. All those stuff will be frowned upon, you know. So now these podcasts now is a way to say, okay, we out this a change in the stuff now. We out this a not the underperformer now. We out this actually the overperformer now, or the performer now. So it's like, we actually have to one of the fans will always say, oh, yeah, so those are stuff I'll be like, yeah. So yeah. I will actually have this episode. Because it was the podcast. And that's the thing. Podcast was started out as something simple, or things that a person would actually see me in real life. But at the time we didn't have the actual thing means are certain stuff. I said that's the thing about actual reaches for people are everywhere. And it's like, oh, okay, people are everywhere, country and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's like these are the stuff now that you reach a level. You reach a level and be like, okay, yeah, these are the stuff that we actually wanted to do. Or we actually been doing. We're just doing more of it. We actually just doing more of the same. Or be like, okay, the same person. So it's like, the people that would actually see me in the streets that from high school be like, okay, we didn't get along. At the same way, we're more the podcast is just a way to reestablish the idea of okay, we're still not gonna get along. So it's like, reestablish that again, like, we're more not going to get along. It's like those are the stuff where we're like, oh, reestablishing that. We're like, okay, yeah, I'm actually becoming. And it's like, oh, want to expose more who you are, bro. Yeah, that's the basically the podcast. It's exposing who I am and be like, okay, so the more we actually be like, the more we actually say, we are not this person. That's actually we are saying. We're saying every day we are establishing that, we're actually not this person, bro. We actually every year. So it's like what happens is that the podcast that we use, like, you see the stuff in hindsight. The podcast is stuff in hindsight and be like, okay, yeah, we actually went through this, and it's like, yeah, we the podcast always would say that we're smart enough to not be this. So that's basically this episode. Will be like, oh yeah. So the next thing about so becoming naturalized is having an identification. Those are stuff where be like, okay, I thought it was, and that's the thing. It's a learning process. Everything is a learning process. I'll be like, okay, I got my identification now, and so, but I have a brown complexion. But back in the days, and that's the thing, obviously back in the days, because what? There was a point in time we did, and now we're in 2025, and we have various people, various religion, races, Chinese and all these stuff. So what will happen is that my work experience, it was me out here, so and I get in the basic name calling as usual, and I have to reestablish like, no, back in the days of me growing up. These were the stories I hear. I know I'm old enough to be like, okay, back in the days they usually call me bro man. And now I'm a man. I assume I'm now God's willing I see 29, I'm a 29. So it's like, they were out there so self proclaiming they were future tense in me. They were actually I call it future tense in me or whatever they call it in English. They'll be like, okay, yeah. You actually put become future or in one piece would say they were actually future side in me becoming a man and actually becoming bro. So what happens is that you see the Chinese person and like okay yeah. So it's like all these so it's like that's the funny thing about the podcast. All this stuff we're actually growing up, you're actually becoming as you become more established, all this stuff that you actually become you know you're out there to try to avoid now. You actually have to do it. So like the the podcast now is just a way of reestablish like okay yeah, these things are actually obvious. These things are actually obvious. But I'm doing it because we actually reestablish that okay yeah this reestablishing that again to be like yeah these things are actually obvious but actually learn for myself. Actually relearn like everything else. I had to relearn and be like, okay, yeah, this is actually what we're doing again. So it's like, and that's rich with each level. So what will happen is that, okay, what will happen is that the podcast now. So you as a new listener will come along, and then boom, you see someone in the street that actually know me from back in the days. And be like, so it's like the podcast is you. So you will see the behind the scenes of the work and be like, okay, see me out there so doing the same stuff. Are what will happen? A listener. There's not it's even impossible. A listener could actually come in and see me recording this stuff and be like, oh. But we actually have to do this stuff. It's routine. Routine where we actually have to come in and do this stuff. Be like, okay, now maybe not for you, the listeners actually come in and see me do it. But we actually have to do it for the future listener. Be like, okay, yeah. We started the podcast because back in the days I was not much of a talk, and now we actually getting older. Now I have to actually find a way to get income, and what I realized was that the self proclaiming prophecy was that. So boom, call center reality. I realized that when I actually go to university and stuff, and there was like 10 million call centers, so I actually had to become a talker. So this this podcast was this a way of me just okay, so yeah, reestablishing that okay, yeah, we have to become a talker. Yeah, so it's like that's the funny thing. But this is just one of those episodes where be like, okay, actually experience that, and it's like, oh, it's like, oh, we actually went through that phase. We actually went through that phase where be like, oh, you reach a level and then a new obstacle comes. So back in the days where we like, oh yeah, you unlock or you say you did have a license before you have a boom and it's like, oh my god. You see everybody else is driving cool and stuff like that. But at the same time, they ask you in a risk that you do not know about. So one of the episodes will be like, oh, enjoy the level that you are until actually reach a new level. So sometimes so even the working world will be like, oh my god, one of the things is that oh, I'm working in this world and I talk about being a contract days versus different type of employee. These are stuff you actually learn in school and, like, oh, and stuff like that. You actually realize that oh, enjoy those days. Enjoy those days are being contracted and stuff like that. Those are I just remember like you reach these levels and these things are actually here for a reason. And that's the oh, those stuff are there for a reason. And it's like, oh, we actually have to do it because you know, reestablished. And why? Because um, I made the podcast now and becoming more. Another thing, we actually become more exposed and getting richer and richer. It's like, oh, why are you actually doing this stuff again for? And it's like, back in the days, we didn't have so much funds. I already have fans different places. But now the fans now is actually here in the podcast world. And what happened is that in the podcast world, it started revolutionary. It starts something revolution and then becomes a luxury. Everybody catches up now. And be like, why did I actually do this stuff? I actually remember back in the days, for some reason, you actually wanted to do something else. But due to realities of time, our people, human errors, human stuff, you could actually execute those realities. So what will happen is that okay, a person will coming out and be like, oh, I see you in 2025, right? See me in 2025 and be like, all right, you see me at the same place, or see me doing the same thing that actually I told you about years ago, and it's finally coming into execution and stuff like that, and stuff like that, and like, and then but there are people listening to the podcast and be like, oh, you were talking about back in the days, and stuff like that. Because what, you know, back in the days, we actually came there. So that's the reason why people be like, all aside, all of mine. No, bro. I was actually there. We actually were there. You actually saw me do this stuff. And you actually gave me an answer. So we actually gave you the answer. So it's like, wow. So it's not all aside, all of mine. We were actually there. It's just that you have to actually remind me of what. That's the reason for the podcast. You can actually go back and be like, oh, that's what happened. So yeah, because that's what happened now. We actually can rectify that competently. That's the thing where be like, we all just trying to it's so that's the thing for the podcast. They always say tell them the experiences. We experience all of this. We all just not trying to be that now. I experience the robbery and all these stuff to get a bachelor's. All these stuff to get a bachelor's. I know we actually be like, yeah, we actually don't want to be. We actually ideally to get the bachelor's, bro. You don't want to be that, bro. I'm bothered and bruised up, bro. I'm bothered up and bruised up, bro, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, we actually do not want to do this stuff. But the podcast, just like everything in school, what will happen is that person leaving high school, a person will actually leave high school, a person in a primary school, go and matriculate in high school and stuff like that. And you say, oh, they left us behind and stuff like that. The podcast is a way to establish it. Back in the days, these are the stuff. These are the reasons why we're actually not at that place anymore. They can actually go back to the feedback and be like, yeah, I actually came to you and offered these stuff and you declined it. So it's like, it's like, yo, bro, it's like, yeah, we can't, it's actually real stuff. So it's like, those are, and that goes both ways. When I actually go and get rejected and stuff like that, I can cry about it and all this stuff. Because if you actually establish an episode, I'm very soft. I'm very soft. So it's like when I go out and get rejected and cry, I'm like, oh my god, he's such a girl and stuff like that. In a gangster world. In a gangster world. But with Adija Palmer Free, it's less about gangster world. That's what against the world we actually come inside. So that's the reason for so it's like no, we are re-established these stuff. So it's like so what will happen is that the podcast that way to re-establish the fact that we are at the BSC level. So if you're actually not there, you more actually will not get me more. It's like so it's like that's the thing when we like sometimes go to high school and stuff like high school days and be like, oh, we do some things in high school. We're actually not trying to be those person anymore. We're actually trying to be someone, not that the high school days. But at the same time, bro, when you actually come back, all right, the primary school days. We actually are trying not to be the primary school days. And like, oh. But sometimes people bring up some stuff from the primary school days and be like, yeah, that's what actually happened. So the podcast is a way for me to say, yeah, those stuff actually happened back in those days. I was actually those person. So now the podcast always established that we actually those person now, so we actually not going back there. I'm actually not going back there. So it's like that's the thing for the podcast. We actually not going back there. So it's like these things are actually obvious. So like, oh So it's like, oh, so it's like, yeah, sometimes it'll be like every year, and that thing is this I think about every year, like, oh, and that's the reason why we have to re-establish our dominance sometimes, re-establish dominance, and you don't have to be when you have to re-establish dominance sometimes. Every time, be like, oh, back they keep coming back, like back in the days, and then every time I go back in the days, that's the reason why I have the plaque and all these. I have to reinforce the plaque and all these stuff, and be like, okay, we have to actually come in and reinforce the stuff and all this. I'm like, yeah, right, actually reinforce who we are and why we're not that person anymore. And that's the thing, like, actually reinforce who we are and why we're not that person anymore. Like, oh, yeah. So that those are things like, oh. So that's the funny thing. Sometimes like, oh, people call us grown man and stuff like that. Ah, going forward, bro. Yeah. We actually live those experiences, but we always are trying to what happens is that the at this level, the original aim of the podcast was self defeating. If you get what I mean. Maybe like, oh, we I actually live in the stuff that I actually prayed for. So back in the days, and what happens is that back in the days, I did not want to do a job. I wanted to do this for fun. I actually watch people always say doing the podcast and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, I love this for fun and all these stuff. But then you come back in the real world, the adult world, and you'll be like, After come back in the adult world, like, oh, it's the gangsters, the high school people. I'm like, oh, the gangsters, stuff like the gangsters, all this. I'm like, oh, yeah, and they come back with the reality and be like, yeah, we actually adult now, so we actually have to go back and re-interact with all those people from back in the days now and re-establish the fact that, but no, with others and re-establish the fact that, we more likely will not get along, just like back in the days. We so it's like, my occupational scientist or biochemist is to extend your life. So I will always come out and offer ways to extend your life. But at the same time, if we did it really back then, if I still come with the nerve back then, we still actually nerve back. But my role now, so you only see me to extend your life. The practice what I preach. So I don't extend your life, but that's basically it. That's the thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So, but at the same time, I have to re-establish respect. Like, oh, certain stuff. Like, oh, so that's the thing. I'm like, oh, I'm doing my job, but at the same time, re-establishing the fact that, okay, back in the day, certain things were laughable. Eh, You know, back in the day, certain things were laughable, not laughable. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. But it's you actually re-establish those stuff. So it's like that's the thing. Maybe like, oh, re-establish our what happens like re-establish the fact that okay, yeah. But at the same time, you have to realize that okay, which the profession you take, you have to actually take the good and the bad for it. So that's basically the aim of this episode. Like, you actually take the good and the bad that comes with the profession because you're out there so trying to do the profession and stuff like that. So at the same time, be like, oh my god, back in the days and stuff like that. I actually have to reinforce the fact that okay, yeah, we actually I actually said that I wanted to do this because so that's the reason for the experience where be like, oh, those are the stuff that I actually went through to get this. So now that I actually get this now, though it deny the fact that I actually go through for those stuff. No, you can actually come back and explain, oh, why back in the days stuff yeah, but we ain't back in the days anymore. And that's the reason why I guess in certain things you have a extinction level effect. We're like, oh yeah, we have to come back and be like, oh, reestablish the fact that okay, certain lessons did get learned and we didn't make it. And it's like, oh, just like matriculating to high school and stuff like that, and matriculating to high school, matriculating at work, or stuff like that, or stuff like that. there was a reason why when I started school I was at the bottom. But at the same time, I actually rose to the top, you know. So it's like, I rose to the top for where I was, for what I actually wanted to do. So it's like, at the same time, what they're doing the disrespect. At the same time, I come in, every time I call the name up, they're like, oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for re-acknowledging who I say I am. But at the same time, bro, it's like, if we didn't get along back then, we're actually more not going to get along now. It's also sometimes like, oh, it's some people back in that that reestablish the fact that, yeah, those were the days, bro. But we actually not want to go back to those days. We'll be like, oh, back in the days, I usually have bad internet and stuff like that. It's nice to acknowledge those days where we have bad internet, but we actually do not want to go back to bad internet. But at the same time, it costs to actually reach these levels and be like, okay. So right now, in my going to my 29th year, I'm actually the cost of getting richer, bro. I can't even. I'm a person who I wasn't before, and it's like, oh, but so I can't. It's a see me in hindsight and be like, okay, so I'm actually feeling this stuff that I'm already experiencing. And so they're listening, I actually feeling this stuff that I'm already experiencing. Like, oh yeah, cause what? We never been this rich before, or we never been this person before. So that's actually reinforcing who we say we are. So boom, I wanted to do this. So it's like, boom, reinforcing those stuff. So it's like, so it's like so it's like, the podcast is just a way to actually reinforce the fact that, yeah, you would, cause this is the thing about this level was that you saw this stuff as a passion and stuff like that. You actually find a way, then reality hits and be like, okay, you have to actually come in and make money. I actually come in and make money now and be like, okay, you realize that, oh, you start meeting the people and back in the days that before the podcast, in a normal world, but and that's it, in a normal world, if you want to work in the normal 9 to 5 job or stuff like that, and you see the same people, we'll come out the same way. The same way, just like how the podcast come. We'll come out the same way. And it's like, oh, we'll come, so we actually reinforce that we are who we say we are. So that's the thing, right? Like, let's see somebody say, oh, Liverpool or stuff till death. That's the reason for this episode. You're reinforcing who you are. So it's like, oh, that's right in the Bible. So to live, or someone like Paul would say, to live to die or die for Christ is a gain. There's a reason for that. You're reinforcing who you say you are. So even in death, you're trusting in the fact that, okay, yeah, this person, Jesus or whoever, is gonna come back and carry us. You're reinforcing the fact that, okay, Jesus, the big Jesus, is gonna carry us back, bro. So even the agnostic or stuff like that coming, oh, I don't believe because, bro, reinforcing the fact that, okay, yeah, I know science or stuff like that, but our religion will come in like our politician will come like, oh, reinforce politician. No. At the same time, there is a reason why at the same time Jesus at the top. Because every year he come in and we come in with all these stuff. He just come in and remind us that, boom, no matter we are agnostic or whatever, Jesus is the he is the only begotten son for a reason, bro. Like like, yo, he's the only begotten son for a reason. Like, even no matter how even agnostic person, you go to ask me if it's the agnostic person, name yourself God. Like, bro, like, there's a reason why that name even exists. Because, yo, because, like, there's a reason why the boss is only begotten son. So that's the thing going to 29 years to actually reinforce it. There's a reason why a person at the top is at the top, but at the same time, um, each year there's a new obstacle. So each year coming like, oh, you have to reestablish who you are. So like, oh, Rome are re-establish the person you are. So boom, a person at the bottom can always come back to the top. That's a person at the bottom can always come back at the top. Or the someone at the top can always come back to the bottom. These are the stuff that actually can come back. Like, oh, these stuff can actually happen. So it's like, when you're at the bottom now, those are the days you actually come in and relearn these stuff and be like, okay, Yeah. Those bottom days are the days. Are the days. Because when you go to the top now and you see the people down at the top coming in with the higher minded ways, you can realize that, oh my god, these are, as a bro man, you can go like, oh, these niggas are actually niggas, bro. Or a black person is actually a black person. Because oh wow. Or so it's like our fact that, oh, I have a brown complexion, but if I would have say in 2025 now I don't have I actually have a different certificate. So it's like, but back in those days, the certificate usually say so, maybe say something like I was Jamaican. So it's like, you know, I am Jamaican, but I the ways of the ghetto, bro, the celebrating the ghetto ways. I actually don't want to be those ways. I want to be rich, bro, just like everybody else, bro. But there's a thing, time and place for everything. Just like coming and be like, oh, back in the days of high school, I usually say, yeah, I pray to get a girl, bro. I pray to get a girl. I never got girl and stuff like that. And I realized that, okay, talking about the girl, getting a girl every day actually becomes self defeating than actually coming in and actually doing stuff. Say it with the science stuff, right? Be like, okay, the podcast is not really for the non certain person. It's a person coming like, oh, I have this topic. And it's like, okay, this is Colin winning Reese on this topic. You don't have to care if that you already see the episode is not relevant to you. And like, oh, okay. But now it's relevant to you now. This is my opinion on it. And I know that you have my opinion on it, bro. It's like, okay, boom, you take it with a grain of salt, then you actually move on. Then you actually move on. And because I actually said that, bro, I actually made that point, I actually forgot what I was gonna say, so I'm gonna actually gonna end it here, just to actually come here. But basically this episode will be like, okay, these are and these are stuff before I actually could get the means to get the podcast up this far. These are the stuff you actually see me in real life, before what would be a coronavirus pandemic. These are the stuff you will see me in real life. But what happens is that before the podcast, I was actually way too poor to actually leave my basement and stuff like that. So these are the stuff that you'd actually see me out there. So proclaiming on the media. But I could only afford or the family could only afford the internet bill for me to see those stuff. So I would actually be one of the keyboard warriors, bro. But what happens is that I could not afford to go out in the streets and see that. So what happens is that actually because of the podcast or stuff like that, or by certain means, I could actually go out in the streets. I go out in the streets and actually perform what I was actually saying. And we live in now you the listener in 2025, just like a spectator, can go back and dissect and be like, okay, this is floppy stuff. This is floppy stuff, like legit. This whole this whole coronavirus pandemic was a fiasco, bro. This was a fiasco, bro. Like legit. Where were the leaders, bro? No, where were the leaders, bro? The leaders were out there so driving cars, bro, and I didn't have a license, bro. That was what happened, bro. The leaders were out there so driving cars, bro. Or I was out there so listening to Elon Musk, learning how to build a spaceship, bro. So I was becoming more who I am, bro. So yeah, we were actually becoming more of who we say we are. So it's like I'm out there so watching Elon Musk out there so building spaceship and wondering how the hell are we gonna actually go back to Mars, bro. That's what all they at the same time. So it's like they're coming like, oh, a person is like, oh, yeah, in high school, like, oh yeah, weird and stuff like that. Yes. So no, this episode is just re-establishing the fact that yeah, we are that person. So that's the reason why you would not actually meet me if you're actually not at that level. So it's like, it might be like, oh, and referring since we're all days talking about rappers, the great meat meal, we're coming like levels. We don't wear the same clothes or the same house for a reason, bro. So we're out there, so even there's a reason why that same thing, bro. Same thing. You know, you would actually not hear me or boom this podcast. So what happens is that you'll see the podcast episode I refer to like our person in the street will be like our person you see me start posting episodes and be like, oh, why the hell I'm not seeing an episode from Colin about the podcast. Either one of two things, either Colin has actually died or you there's a not subscribe to the podcast to see that okay I'm actually posting some episodes. Or 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 what happens is that if you actually listen to the podcast, you actually see that um these are the stuff that the core fans in the real world we would actually be doing in real life. But at the time, we actually upgrades. So that means I was like, okay, back in the days, I leave university and come out fresh. How happened that I actually went to university with some of the people from high school. So the same people at the same place, bro. The same people at the same place, bro. Just re-establishing the fact. So if you come back at the same, I would say the same people from back in the days will come back and re-establish. Like, oh, why the hell all this not doing this and making money and stuff like that? Because in the ideal world, that's the reason why in the ideal world we would not actually all this to be working, bro. But you know, but what happens that reality hits after a while. I actually listen to it. Reality hits and be like, okay, yeah, the reality that we were in at the time past its place. Past its place. We're like, okay, the days of being in the basement or in the granny house was doing more harm than good. Even though we missed the home, bro, we actually had to leave it again, bro. But no, we actually leave it for a while to come back and be like, oh yeah, yeah. Those we actually leave it for a while to come back and realize that, yeah, bro, there's a reason why the granny was right, bro. There's a reason why she said to stay in the house, bro. But just like Adam and Eve, bro, you know, the OG fans, we know, like Adam and Eve, bro. There's a reason why God did tell people them don't eat the apple, bro. We eat the apple. I know we always are living these realities, bro. So now, because we out there say eat the apple now, you have someone agnostic now coming and be like, oh my God, I don't believe in God and stuff like that. But actually, I acknowledge these person because what? Because, you know, we ate the apple now we in 2025. But, you know, at the same time, be like, now sometimes I have to actually go through some stuff and realize that God, our God and Jesus is actually still Jesus, bro. So it's like that's the thing. I be like, okay. Sometimes I go to high school and be like, oh, um, things happen and be like, oh, all right, what happens? That book in high school, I was a certain person, and at the same time, if you go out in the streets or stuff like that, I am still the same person. I am still the same person. So a robber is a robber, a killer is a killer, or stuff like that. So if you actually reinforce that you're a robber or a killer, or agnostic or stuff like that, you know. But at the same time, they actually come and test you. Like, okay, they actually come in and test you. Like, okay, with your stuff. So now I'm here in 2025, reinforce that, okay, yeah, you know, I came from a Christian home. And there's a reason why we actually came from that home. And 2025 just another way to actually remind this episode is actually a way to actually remind me that, oh, there's a reason why we actually came from that home, bro. Or why? Even in death, you know, even my granny in the grave, no. Everybody come to the funeral and be like, oh, put respect on her name, bro. Because, yo, from the day she gave her all to God, bro, she is who she says she is, bro. Like, those are the stuff where be like, you know, so sometimes this episode is a way, be like, sometimes go out in the streets of Jamaica and be like, oh, our streets of everywhere, the streets of the world. And that's the reason why I love, you know, we're talking about traveling and in the aviation. And what will happen is that you go to another country or go as a tourist, and you get all the respect as a tourist or stuff like that. But behind closed door, I go to the streets in Jamaica, or cause what Jamaica is more than one people. There were people that were out there talking a funny language. Out there to criticize, but they can't even understand the language or stuff like that. Can't even understand the language. They always go in the streets of Jamaica because what? In 2025 now, fast slavery. So we fast slave. So now we out of many one people now. So there's a in the same judgment in a different language. So there is for the identification now is that we actually have a way to show that okay, even though you judge me in your language, when I actually pull out this ID now, because we're in this country now. If I actually don't like the fact that you're there to calling me like bro man, I actually kind of pull out the ID and be like, ah, this is the name that this is the name that was on my certificate, and now I have a card that I basically just walk around with that shows my name on it. And also, and that's the thing where I be like, and that's the reason why a business and out in the streets are so different. When you go to a business, a competent business, they call you by your name, bro. Call you by your name and be like, oh my God, Mr. Smith Brooks or Mr. and this and that. That's the reason why they call you that. It's the reason why they call you that. But they go out in the streets, bro, and you be like, well, you are what happens is that you grow up in a country and be like, oh my God, we want to escape the plantation, bro. So why we keep talking about that plantation, bro? Let's actually just try to get out of the plantation, bro. Like, so that was basically the podcast. Me out there so talk I was actually telling the people, so I was a keyboard warrior back in the days. And still a keyboard warrior now, but one thing we have a microphone. So I was a keyboard warrior back in the days, same way out there so telling you saying the same thing over the keyboard, and then no, but I'm trying to do it legit now. We're actually trying to do it legit. We're actually trying to be legit keyboard warriors. We're actually getting paid. I go to pay taxes. When I go to the airport, they respect me and be like, okay, Mr. Brooks, you see you want to go to here now? So let me just assist you in taking your bag to actually assist you in getting you to there. So that we're actually trying to get paid to be our keyboard warriors now. But at the same time, we actually reestablish that so that's really where we have ID now. Can't tell if it actually works, but this is our 2025 thing now. We actually go with the ID now and show them, bro. Call me bro, man. That's the thing. I actually went to a place and they actually come in and I talk to a different. That's the thing we're saying now. We're 2025. Actually, all this with different different races. So actually, go to the streets. I know there's a boom. I'm out there so portraying, pushing out for science and stuff like that. And then I go to the street and I see a doctor and the doctor come in and shut me down. I have to remember that back in the days, bro. Back in the days, when I actually going for the same visa again, we actually have to go through that place every day. Those were the default place we actually have to go. So it's like to go just to get the thing to actually go to that country. That's the reason why I think racism and stuff. Yeah, it's actually because of that, bro. There's a reason why the episode is that there's a privilege a person work for. What's a luxury to others is a privilege to something. So I back in the days before I became a BSc, I was out there at high school student, and I would even drive and to this place. Just go there and I say the wrong thing and get rejected. And now boom, going to the 29th year, bro. Bro, I'm the same person, bro. I legit do the DNA test on everything, bro. We're the same person, bro. Bro, we're the same person. And we in the same country, with the same thing. We'll be like, yeah, that country is number one for a reason. There's a reason why everybody else is trying to go to that country for that reason. So when I go back there again, bro, yo, we all this are doing the same thing, bro. I'm telling you the same thing, bro. Like legit, they're supposed to do a whole file on me, bro. That says, everybody's actually over there, bro. So it's like, yo, we actually the only reason I'm like legit the only reason why we all this, cause yo yo like everybody's actually over there. So it's like that's the thing where it be like, yo, Americans are first, and American first world country. They're stupid, bro. We call them stupid and stuff like that. I reinforce. So when I come in and say, oh, our country is stupid, and so on, I actually reinforce why I say that. So it's like, cause what? You have a whole file on me, bro, and yo, the whole family's over there, bro. So it's like, yo, like legit. I can come there and tell you the wrong answer, bro. But yo, we just reestablishing the fact that yo, who I am saying I am, bro. I am going to die. I guess we're gonna die who we say we are, bro. Like legit. Bro, it's reinforcing that, bro. So it's like the country so it's like those are stuff here. All these are coming out. That's the reason why. So this episode now is actually reinforcing that stuff. Like, okay. We're in 29 year now. We want this is doing the aviation. I mean, what this wanted to go to space, bro. We want to go to so that's the like, okay. We actually want to go travel and see space and do those futuristic stuff. But the aviation thing is actually coming and be like, oh, actually, it took a toll on me. But what happened was well, back in the days, no, back in the days, all those days, like all those reality of going to that country, the country that is leading in the stuff. What I realized was my constraint was basically you have to actually stop being. So, so sometimes I'll be like, okay, why I am because I am, bro. Yeah, we actually because I actually reinforcing the fact that yo, this is who we say we are, bro. This is who I say I am, bro. I'm just trying to go over there, bro. And it's like if you actually live my experience, you actually understand. And that's yeah. So that's the thing. I'm like, okay, so what happens though in 2025 though? I actually have the time now to sit down and read the stuff and realize that okay, this is the reason why I actually feel that time. And it's like, oh, okay. But you know what happens that get a year older is that you actually seeing the person that actually feel it. And it's like I was like, oh, actually go and see the person and see the same place. But no, actually I accreditation. So we see the same people at the same place, but no, we actually accredited now. So it's like we see the same people at the same place. But no, if you actually bring my name up, I'm getting closer to becoming who you say you were. And it's like it's like they call a brute force. A brute force that way that's reinforcing people and just reinforcing the fact like okay, we are who we say we are. We are who we say we are. Like even when you go up in the file and ask us a question, bro, I legit told you who we are, bro. Unless the person on the other side is always telling us not that stuff. But we out there to reinforcing who we are. And it's like those are stuff where be like, okay, yeah. So it's like, these are stuff going to reality of 2025. Like, yeah. Reinforcing the same our what happens that reinforcing that we we is a new we are not who we were yesterday. So it's like we weren't as we were richer than before yesterday. So it's like you reinforce the same thing. I'm like, okay, yeah. So you reinforce who we are. So sometimes be like the thing in 2025, I'm like, okay, in a different reality. In a different reality, I would actually that's the funny thing. I'd be like, I could always play all different ways, all the different ways. But in every reality, bro, is a reason why we actually end up the same place, bro. And it's like, and I stuff like that. Even if I wasn't doing the podcast, bro, I would out there so doing say the same thing, bro. Say the same thing. Actually, I need time to come back. Come. That's the reason why we have school days. I actually come out and say the same thing, bro. You would actually say I would actually say the same, and that's the thing about the podcast, where I actually went to the call center, bro, and the people could actually come back and say I would actually say the same. That's the thing about having the identification record. You call me the brown man and stuff like that, but you'd actually see me say the same things. That's that's the thing. Even in that, bro, maybe I would actually be saying the same things, bro. You see me out there in the streets, bro. We would actually saying the same things. That's the thing. We would actually be out there saying the same things. We're just that now we have a new outlet now, which is the podcast. We're always trying to do that now. And we actually need to need your support. That's the reason why I go out there and see the same thing. I see me say the same thing. Serious. Our people come and see serious image. Our people go out and say, I will be the same person. So uh, so what happens is that I will go back. And reason why people actually go see me out in the streets and they start me talking about back in the days because what happened is that there was a time 2015 versus 2018. Now I'm in 2025 now. And what happened is that I we in 2025 now and we did a change. We did a change, but we just actually become more of who we say we are. So, boom, if you're out there, so boom, and saying that, okay, you're out there, so not saying that believe in a God and stuff like that. I'm not out there, so going to come back and be like, okay, I'm going to turn you to a believer, bro. But what I'm going to tell you is that I grew up in a Christian home, bro. Like, legit. Like, bro, they, they actually, even the gangsters, the killers, are what the family that I grew up with. There's a reason why. There's a reason why when I read the Bible, bro, Jesus had to die and and come back in the new world. He came back as this person, bro. The Paul named Saul, the greatest persecutor of Christians, bro. The boss just slap him down with a Damascus road and be like, yo, this is a preacher now. There's a reason why Jesus said, yo. There's a reason why when he died and came back, bro, he came with this whip, bro. You know, the whip that slap the that the English used to slap there's a reason why they actually do it. Because what happens is that, you know, he told you these stuff. And then when he told you these stuff, then it actually happened and be like, yo, bro, there's a reason why I'm wrong, bro. Cause what? My grandmother actually went through this stuff and be like, yo, bro, stay in the house, bro. We ain't going back to those slavery days, bro. We ain't going back to those slavery days, bro, in the sun. So that's why every time you see me, bro, the only thing they could actually say is that, bro, you look less brown, bro. You look smarter. Because what, bro? Yo, we actually went through those days, bro, to say that, yo, we we don't want to go back to those days, bro. So yeah, even my nerd days and stuff like that, bro. I was up in high school and stuff, I see the same people, bro. And it's like, wow. Even those days, bro, I actually rose to the occasion in my field. You know, but what happens that in the there were other stuff in my other part that I could not rose to, bro, because I was actually too not the person. I was actually not that person. So it's like I should go like for example, you know, high jump or stuff like that. I was actually buttered and bruised. So it's like those stuff were actually look too dangerous for me. What happens is that now I'm an adult, and then I want this have to actually go out in the streets and do these stuff, bro. Do these stuff. And what will happen is that maybe you never know, bro. Maybe you never know. You see me go out and reach somewhere in. And then when I reach somewhere in it, I'll be like, oh my god, bro. Come from the same country. We come from the same country. We are this out of minimum people. You know. We are this out of minimum people. And be like, oh my god, bro man did it, bro. Bro man did it, bro. And it's like, me show you ID, bro. Show you the ID, bro. And it's like, bro, this some reason, bro. The person who birthed, bro, they actually gave us this name, bro. Like legit. So I actually give you this paper, bro. Don't care what it spell, bro. Don't care what it spell. Could be one or two L. Could be one or two L, bro. But yo, whatever, bro. This was the paper. This was the name that actually see us with, bro. So it's like whatever the name was, bro. With one or two L, bro. Or the pronunciation. So that's the semantics we're actually going to 2025 now. Be like, okay, no. Maybe it was a calling with one L now or two L. Maybe it was so it's like those are the only semantics now we actually should go into in 2025 now. But hey, bro. We in GA, bro. In GA. So it's like another so that's the reason why I be like, no matter how you take it, bro. You see me doing the podcast, see me doing the stuff, bro. We are who we say we are. The podcast is just another outlet of reinforcing that, bro. We are who we say we are, bro. Like, legit. What you want me to read up people? So it's funny. So what happens is that what happens is that people come in like, oh, why I'm not at that position, bro? Cause bro, we actually didn't get stuff here. We did actually get stuff here. So that's the reason like, oh, yeah. So it's like if there's a reason why we're not there. So it's like, oh my god, why the hell I'm not out there so making $1 million a month? Cause I'm actually seeing the person out there so making $1 million a month. And I actually did not want to live that life, bro. So what will happen is now is that I'm gonna actually make $1 million for a month. And then be like, oh my god, bro. This is the life, brother. This is the life, bro, of making the $1 million per month. This is the life of the person making the $1 million per month, bro. This is the life, bro. I out there so every day you out there so I'm making millions off you. So this is the episode of the podcast. I'm telling you why I'm making the $1 million per month, bro. Cause every day you wake up, bro, you're out there so doing something risky. I'm out there to extend your getting paid to extend your life, bro. You're getting paid to not die. My job is actually making you not die. So it's like so sometimes like what is my source of income? The fact that you can actually reply, bro. That is my source of income. The fact that you actually can reply, bro. That's actually our source of income. And it's like, oh, I the fact that you actually can listen to this, bro. That's our actual source of income. So it's like, oh, wow. Okay. So it's like, those are the stuff where be like, you know, that's the reason why sometimes like you see person you grow up. I grew up, in '96, bro. Grew up in my realities. I know I'm in 2025, and people come back and with certain stuff, and at the same time they come back with certain stuff and try to be smart or stuff like that. And sometimes actually reinforcing. Sometimes we actually have to go through the process of taking them through, like a song would say, take him from the cradle to the grave. Take them from the cradle to the grave to actually show them that there's a reason why, yeah, even in the slavery days, bro, even in the 300 years of slavery, brother, Yeah, why Jesus, bro? Why the slave master, bro? Why they were winning, bro? Because they were worshiping maybe a version of Jesus, bro. If you actually maybe actually go back to the to the history books, they would actually be like, yeah, they were worshiping a form of Jesus, bro, and stuff like that. You want different religion, bro. So it's like those types of like so boom in 2025 I'll be like, okay, 2025 I'm still out there so battered and bruised, bro. But at the same time, the next thing so I have my identification now is doing the driving thing. What happens is that I actually go in the streets and be like, they see me with the ID and be like, reinforcing who we say we are. And it's like, I'm like, what happened is that we didn't change, bro. We didn't change. Our person will be like, they see me and it's like, bro, you see me at the same place, bro. Like, legit. The same thing that I would actually say to you, bro, I would say to you, bro. You just older, bro. Older. There's a reason why the Bible taught the child the way he should go, so when he grow old, they never depart from it, bro. So it's like whatever outcomes we actually get, that's the reason why we actually get for the outcome because is so actually listen to this and be like, oh, the agnostic person be like come in and be like it's agnostic and stuff. And like come back and say the same thing. I will actually go out and say the same thing, the same rambling, the same rambling and so like I'm not person be like, oh blah 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 stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. I would say the same thing. In a podcast, in a voice note, I would say the same thing. I would actually say the same thing. We will be saying the same thing. And it's like, but while at the same time, we actually don't want to be that person. So what will happen is that coming and say, oh, there's a living and dying in Christ and stuff like that. I'll be like, yo, what will happen is that a person will come in and be like, I'm the same person, bro. But I'm the same person, but what means that you reach a level. That's the reason why I say sometimes I will come in and preach about the Bible. Even random days I come out. Even when I don't study the Bible, bro, I actually know one stuff. One stuff. Because what will happen is that there's always something that will always just remind me why Jesus is Jesus. Like the fact that okay, bereavement or bereavement, you know, getting paid to bury the dead, bro. Those stuff are actually reminder to us stuff to be like, okay, yeah. Those stuff would actually be like, those really be like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that way it actually refers to that, yeah. There's a reason why Jesus is Jesus. We didn't see he raised the dead, yeah. Or you know what? The great Adi just say, oh, um, if like he would say something like, because there's a living that is because there's a living that is a blessing in a thing, bro. You know, so that would be the message for agnostic or something like that. It'd be like, oh, the fact that we out there so live, actually see you out there in real life, bro. We may actually see you in real life. Are you may afraid of me? I know. What happened is that boom. Are what even my religion come in and a certain denomination will come in like oh blah blah blah. Cause what happens I know. Yeah, there's a reason why this episode is important. Boom. You have my mother or stuff like that will come in like, oh my god, a certain denomination say they don't eat pork. But my mother, she doesn't drink eat pork, but she makes pork very well for some reason. So either there's two realities where she actually ate pork, and then when I was born, she doesn't eat pork for a certain reason. So she actually go through the experience and know why we don't eat pork. So that's the thing. I'd be like, yeah, sometimes I've actually go through experience, be like, okay, yeah, that's the reason why we don't eat pork. So we actually learned that now. But at the same time, she cooks pork. So even though she don't eat it, yes, she cooks pork and I eat it. So what happened is that the fact that I'm here in 2025, there's some reason why pork somewhat could be eaten, bro. But in the Bible, bro, in the Bible, bro, they say something that it's looked down upon. But they will go out in the Bible, go out in the street and show me the verse and tell me that okay, yeah, this is the reason why you out there to go out in the streets and be like, okay. But bro, if that's the oh, and then yeah, no, no, that's what the lane that I'm going down is actually very wrong. If that's the only thing on the menu, bro. So that's the reason for the podcast. These are stuff I actually say in real life. So growing in the reality that I'm growing up into, it's a they call it a duality of stuff. Where be like, okay, I have to watch what I'm saying because I grew up in a certain country. But at the same time, it's grammatically incorrect to not say it that way. So, like for example, succeed. Yeah. So that's the reason why there's a bachelor's of science in linguistics and stuff like that, and why when I actually go up there in the university level, we actually was that person, and why. So that's the reason why when I go to the streets, you can tell a high schooler from a or a primary school person from a non-primary school person. Even get the car and stuff like that, this stuff like that, even a gangster, can tell those stuff due to this stuff. Like the word succeed. And we're like, oh my god, succeed and stuff like that. You that's the reason why I'm like, oh you could actually tell those stuff. You can actually tell a person or people can just walk in and tell you, yo are why growing up, even they call me brown man and stuff like that with the big ears and like, oh my god, I'm gonna be rich. There's a reason why today I may be rich and you are poor. They like legit if you actually study the reason now actually okay, I'm actually poor. You know, I didn't have big ears and stuff like that. I read and say, oh, let you to listen and be like, oh, I didn't have big ears, bro. I grew up and I grew up and telling people like, yo, rich person, and stuff like that. You could actually now go into a book and realize why we aren't rich. Or why you aren't rich, or why they call you certain stuff for a certain reason. They're like, oh yeah, they call me this or that because I actually look like the person. I look like the person. But hey, if you have a child, but you have to take the good and the bad, bro. Take the good and the bad, bro. What happens is that you experience it in real time, bro. Experience it in real time. I know you hear this podcast and be like, oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro. We were once late, bro. Alright. But hey, I grew up. Yeah, we were once late, but I grew up. I once grow man and be like, yo, every 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 year that I reach my person and be like, oh, yes. So and every year they keep on making me money and stuff like that. It's like, oh, wow. So there's a reason why I'm that person. There's a reason why that I'm that person. You aren't that person. And when we actually find out why we actually aren't that person, then we can actually move along to make a mutual benefit. So sometimes like so sometimes actually be like there's a reason why it's called self esteem and stuff like that. So even in my high school days when I did have self-esteem, if actually I listened to the episode, I actually became somewhat relevant again by joining the basketball team or stuff like that. We actually became relevant again. So even in my days of low self-esteem, bro, I realized that we still have the big ears and stuff like that. So they were out there. There's a reason why we out there so became the person who we say we are. No matter what reality we actually come in. And that's the thing about like each year sometimes like, and that's the reason why I did. So, sometimes be like, oh okay. They come back and be like, bro, that's the reason why I think the Bible exists. Because Jesus will be saying the same thing. They are like, bro. He'll be saying the same thing, bro. He'll be saying the same thing, bro. And then sometimes he will just come back and be like, bro, you know, you will just say the same thing and say the same uncle, the same outcome, bro. We'll come back and say the same outcome, bro. And it's like, wow. But actually trying to go back to the different places, bro. What happens is that identification now is a way because what happens is that a person will come grown man or something like that. But who actually know me now in the street or people know me well, but actually know my real name. Or maybe you don't actually know my real name. Like, oh my god, no, you out there to come or a new person, a new listener coming in. Like, oh my god, a new person coming in, high and mighty, coming from the Great Nation, bro, the Fire Nation, coming from the Fire Nation, and like, oh my god, look at this poor little white person, bro. Look at this. No, look at this. No, he's so white, bro. White as snow, bro. So to me, I'm brown, bro. And it's like, oh my god, look at this person, bro. And he will call me by my name. Why? You, because he will call me brown because he's white. That's why. He will call me by my name because okay, he's over there looking down at me. He's like, oh my god, I ain't calling BSC, bro. I'm just gonna call him, bro. I'm gonna call him. So that's the thing. I be like, yo, I am who I am reinforced. Sometimes I do something. Like, oh, why it's so obvious? I feel that sometimes I actually really like why a doctor and stuff like that have to come we why a pandemic and stuff like that you can live to laugh about a pandemic or an epidemic. We can live to laugh about it because each year we have to actually recertify, reinforce the same thing. So sometimes we're like, oh my god, oh, I will be saying the same thing, So when I create it to the grave, when I create it to the grave, we actually will saying it. So sometimes like, oh my god, I just see you post the podcast, bro, or stuff like that. The fact that you actually see me in real life to actually say that yo, I did open the podcast means that I'm out there to living what I would actually be saying, would actually be saying in the podcast. If you didn't see me, or what happens is that you see your episode where I talk about yo, if you actually see me in the streets or stuff like that, there's a point in there I was very skinny. I was very skinny. And you come back and say, "Oh my God, bro, Colin, you look so fat. You got so big, bro. Colin, I was so big, bro, but you got so mager, bro. You got so slim, bro. You got so slim, bro." And then boom, all of a sudden I got fat again. I got fat again, bro. And it's like, "Oh, the hell did you get gain so much weight?" Both good and bad. Now you have good people that come in and be like, "Oh my God." Oh my god, finally you're out there so not more again, you're out there so putting on some meat and stuff like that. And then you have the negative time, like, oh my god, you're putting on so much meat, or what the hell that was. And like, so you're out there so reinforcing the fact that okay, I was once brown, I am still brown, but I am not as skinny as I was before. I actually gained some weight. Actually gained some weight. Actually gained some weight. So it's like the podcast out there to tell you how I actually got the weight and how I actually lose the weight. But not only that, I reach a new level now where I actually okay. With everything I have to actually maintain that stuff. So if I actually get the BSc, I have to actually reestablish why. I actually got the yes. So he creep from the cradle to the grave after I prove. Even the days I out there, so wake up and don't want to prove it. So when I wake up after I prove now, why the hell they still why the hell that paper still exists with my name, even though I say don't want to live it on, bro. There's a reason now. Even the lecturer and stuff like that, they actually have the written stuff that actually wrote. And I was thinking about 2025 now. They could actually go back and see the stuff I write and they actually go back and look and see, bro, the person actually wrote this, and we actually sit down and gave him this answer, bro. We actually gave him this zero, bro, because what? He actually missed the exam, bro. He was sleeping. We all this was sleeping. We gave the person a zero, bro. That thing in the working world, bro. The working world, I'm doing the customer service and be like, oh my god, bro. Oh my god. You customer service zero and stuff like that. Bro, legit, like legit, if you go back to every one of those experiences, bro, and everybody call them back and stuff like that, they legit can't say I didn't do something. Like with our that's the thing where we like that's the thing about living what you say or stuff like that. If you live long enough, the spectators or stuff like that have enough evidence, more evidence to go back and see the play by play now to actually say, yo, we actually did this. I actually did this, and yeah, so we reinforce who we say we are. So it's that's the thing about experience and stuff like that, building reputation, all these stuff. So yes, we reinforce ourselves, we reinforce that yes, we are brown, and now apparently, God's when I'm turning 29, we are now a man. So the bro man is actually stuff like that. But technically in 20 stuff like that, I have some identification and stuff like that. Actually, I say I have a name now. Actually, I say, we ain't Toby anymore, bro. We ain't Toby anymore. We Kunte Kinte, bro. I don't even, I didn't remember. we, we ain't calling with one L anymore, bro. We ain't those favorite things calling, bro. We're calling with two L's now, bro. We're calling with two L's now. So it's like, yo, unless for some reason, there's a carry to London and show me the first that show me the two L's, bro. I was like, oh. What? Yeah, that's it. They'll be like, okay, yeah, it's two L's, two L's. That's how I spell it, bro. So that's sometimes actually reestablish. We always reestablish who we say we are. So it's like I actually so that's why I be like something I can go back. Actually reinforce who we are. So it's like okay, yeah. From the cradle to the grave, bro, we always read the same person. So it's like what means that what we have now is time of abundance and time of shortage. Where my time of shortage now, I actually I'm still the same person, but I just not have don't have the money to actually show you that I was actually that person. So that's the thing where I'm like, oh yeah, we actually are who we say we are, bro. There's a reason why I'm brown close to white, bro. Because what they say, yo, why the snow, bro? Why the snow? Why the snow, bro? I don't. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding, bro. But yo, that's the thing. I'm like, yo, the podcast, bro, just like everything else, bro. It's just us reinforcing who we say. Sometimes we reinforcing who we say we are, bro. And and bro, from the cradle to the grave, bro, we are who we say we are, bro. But it's another year. It's another year, and we actually have to reinforce it a different way. So that's the thing where we like, right? We're gonna talk about export, like my life next expire, gonna expire, and all these stuff and all these. Most of these stuff gonna expire. have to go back to the maybe I have to go back to the process to renew the stuff and stuff like that. It just it be like at a certain time there's no more format. A person will see me in the street and be like, oh my god, it's the same person. It- Even the podcast days, I'm the same person, bro. It's the same. The only thing that can happen, bro, is actually I actually didn't recognize it, bro. Or I'm always a recording podcast, bro. That's are you actually see me in the lab, bro? Yes, that's basically the only thing where we like, yo, that's the only difference, bro. We actually the person. So the person at the top, they are at the top for the reason, bro. You know, doesn't mean that we can't actually go there. It doesn't mean, bro. Just that he's a he's always what happens is that certain things just set in stone, bro. Certain things set in stone. And it's like, yo, certain things set in stone, bro. But it's like, yo, we actually have to you know, we set in stone, bro. So a Chinese will be a Chinese, bro. Even when we go to Mars, bro. Even when we go to Mars, I remember I said that that's the reason. In a different, that's why I talk about career as a luxury. I talk about the lady and the episode where I talk about. I remember saying, remember that we actually have the BSc and we actually go to the university. So in the university world, unless you're doing this as a side project, you would actually will not have see me recording a podcast. You would actually see me doing work. You would actually see me doing work. So that's the reason why our and that's the reason why our field, the field that I actually going to. So that's the importance of reinforcing that part of it. We'll be like, okay, there's a reason why even with my lower second class in my major, it's so respected compared to a lower second class in a different division. Because we are who we say. That's the reason for that field, bro. We say, we are who we say we are, bro. It's a reason why the first class person is the first class person. So that's the reason why I be like in high school and stuff like that. A person rise to the cream of the crop. The big person, I be like, oh, the big boss and stuff like that. When you reach my university level and stuff like that, there's a reason why I went to the accredited why my thing is accredited sometimes why a certain thing isn't accredited stuff like that. I be like, oh, we're just reinforcing who we say we are sometimes we actually going and be like, oh, we're just reinforcing the same. So it's like, okay. So that's the reason why every time I go to class or something like that, oh, so it's like, yeah, I would actually even in the real world in the real world, I would actually be the same. We would actually be the same person. Like, like what I would actually, this episode we're gonna talk about. I would actually trying to change the frame of my primary school picture. Actually, trying to change the frame of my primary school picture, and seeing those pictures now, I couldn't. If I actually take the picture out of the frame, the picture would actually tear. Picture would actually tear. And what I actually realized was that if we actually, with the pictures and stuff like that, regardless, bro, I actually what we have pictures from 2008, 2013, and 2021, bro. And every one of those pictures shows that we are who we say we are, bro. And there are people who actually sign off on this stuff that showing that we are are who we say we are, bro. So that's the thing where we like, each year there's a reinforce. Each year we are reinforcing who we are. Each year there's a reinforcing who we are. So it's like, there are different realities and stuff like that. And I guess God is could always try to place on different realities and stuff like that. But I think that we are always gonna be who we are. That's the reason why that's the reason why you're listening to me on the podcast. We go through high school and stuff like that. and maybe even in a different reality, bro, we would actually become the same person. The only thing is now, I would actually invite you to my home and you'd actually come and see that I am actually the same person now. And you're actually not well, the only difference will happen in 2025. You would actually come to the house and say, bro, you, what we see in the high school, bro, you actually are not that person. That's the only thing they could actually say. And they come to the university and be like, you're actually not second class one division, bro. You were actually first class. That's the only thing they could actually say in 2025, bro. The fact that we all this you this listening to me say, bro, not right. And that's the reason why I say Adija Pound. I would say Vice Carter back in the day because I know July is coming up and apparently he's on the reggae song fest thing. So the partying thing ain't my style, but I never know. But they buy some music, I'll see me out there. So in the streets, bro, watching the great Adija Palmer perform, bro, and stuff like that. 'Cause, yo, that's the thing where I be like, that's the reason for this episode. Where I be like, yo, regardless, bro, regardless if we're brown man, the worthless man or whatever, bro. Like legit, wow, bro. Like legit, brother. The fact that we actually born, bro. I establish who I say I am, bro. And the fact that your days are trying not to be who I say I'm not, are trying to prove who I say I'm not, bro, means that you're actually not that person, bro. So that's the thing we're saying. There's a reason why we're number one. We are number one. There's a reason why we are number one. We are number one. But yeah. So it's like sometimes actually, so yeah. So that was the thing about it. Sometimes actually, fuck. So what will happen is that we are number one, but sometimes we actually have to wake up and reinforce why we actually number one. Sometimes actually, sometimes we wake up and reinforce that. Oh yeah, so you have to actually reinforce that. Yeah, we're actually number one. That's the reason why I talk about the guy Einstein, bro. He's a theoretical. I could actually say in 2025, he's a theoretical physicist, bro. He's a yeah. You could actually see that. That's the reason why we actually go to university. They go and hear about the theme, the great theme of Einstein. Then I go to university now and then realize that Einstein was a theoretical physicist, bro. You were actually doing biochemistry. Yeah. So yeah, there's a reason why So that's the reason why okay. There's a person at the top. It's not impossible for you to not reach his level. That's the reason why I have to carry as a luxury. But what happens is that each year become the each year you rise the level. It becomes more apparent why you aren't that person. or or why is it why even if you meet the idol or stuff like that, why he is your idol and why he not, or why if the idol becomes idol, stuff like that. Those are stuff like the more you actually become. There's a reason why we are who we are. So then whatever reason, bro, the outcome is always the outcome. So that's the thing where I be like, yo, this episode is actually it just as a way to actually reinforce it, like the person is actually this. So it's like it's a more. It's just that the podcast is just a me, It's just like okay, what happens is like okay, I go out in the streets of Jamaica, bro. I go out in the streets of Jamaica, bro. And that's the reason why actually this episode, I see an episode where I talk about the days of me playing basketball and stuff like that. Yeah, those days. I'm like, you can always go back to hearing me all days of talking to about those days. Then always go philosophical, philos, whatever the word is. Because what would happen is that I would actually go out and play basketball. And the people that want to go out and be like, oh, portraying who I say I'm not. Like you're going out and be like, oh yeah, I come from this parish and be like, oh my parish got soft or stuff like I actually came there and the parish got soft because of this or stuff like that. Bro, I actually go and live at a parish, bro. So it's like, yo, we didn't change, bro. The fact that I'm still living, bro. Like, that that's the way actually I went to the basketball time and people out there talking about where I'm from. It's like, bro, like legit. Unless there's another paper that shows I'm not from there, you actually would have either know me in my younger years and be like, oh, let me not kill this boy, let me out this or spare his life. Or what you saying about where I'm from is actually not what you say about the town. And it's like, wow, you know. So that's the thing where I be like, oh, I go out in the streets playing basketball and stuff like people are what is that? I'll go that's the thing about the high school days. I go out and person out there is trying to prove who you saying you aren't. I'll be like, bro, even in a different reality, bro. Yeah, I'm not the best at basketball, bro. But from I'm on the court, I'm not a like I'm getting less of a liability than and there's a reason why I was on the bench those days and why I was the starter. There's a reason why I actually do that, bro. Because if I wasn't who I say I am, bro, we wouldn't. you know. So even that's that someday after getting my ID and stuff like that. It's another way to reinforce that we are who we say we are. We are who we say we are, bro. Like no matter what reality, bro. No matter reality, bro. It's like we nerds, bro, or stuff like that. We don't want to be this person, bro. That even that's the reason for the podcast. Like, oh, we don't want to be this person, bro. So from the cradle to the grave, bro. We we all this are trying not to be this person. Bro. We're trying not to be gangsters, bro. But even if we actually turn gangsters, bro, you would actually be smarter and stuff like that. We actually don't want to be scammers, but we actually want to. If we were scammers, bro, maybe actually be the best scammer, bro. Like, cause what happens is that with the great Adidas upon free, but there's a that's the reason why I say I spoke about the great Adidas upon and he was a good person and stuff like that. Cause what happens? I grew up with all these people and seeing I actually reached the point where I actually see these people, bro. I'm like, bro, like wow. At a certain point at each year, and I think each year you actually reinforce who you are. So it's so even if I was on the streets, even though I don't want to be on the streets, no, for real, even though I don't want to be on the streets, bro, we actually not be, even on the streets, bro. The people them still call me bro, man. I'm richer than most, bro. Even on the streets, bro. That's wild, bro. Even on the streets, I'm still richer than most, bro, and more privileged than most, bro. Even if and the reason why I can say that, because there was point in time now I was actually on the streets, so I could actually say that, bro. Yo, even those days, bro, I was more better than most, bro. That's actually wild. That's even my streets, bro. That is, so it's like so what happens is that in the reason why we actually have this, bro, because we have those stuff and the podcast is just a way to when sometimes like what happens there was a point in time that I was asking some people to be guests and due to time constraints and stuff like that our realities at the time they something was gonna make and what happens that I reinforce who I say I am. So the podcast wasn't really me saying, okay, yo, I'm on this or trying to beg you or stuff like that. In an alternate universe, the podcast would exist and I would become the person who I say I am. The podcast wouldn't exist and I would become the person who I say I am. So it's like it's a more of a way. The podcast is just a more of a way to say, okay, even though I'm say I who I say I am now, the podcast is a way to say, okay, those days were over now. Then we just come back and, and actually just talk about those days as a thing, bro. But you know what happens that yo, due to time constraints or the reality at that time, certain things were possible. So what happens is that you actually see me out in the streets and be like, you know, what happened happened. So that's the reason why I'm be like, oh, you see some story be like, oh, what happened happened. Because yo, that was our reality at the time, bro. That was our reality at the time, bro. So it's like, so even a new reality, where be like, oh my god. And that's the reason why sometimes like certain things still happen to me and I still be like, okay. Even the new employment days, even my employment days, where I talk about, yeah, I talk about, oh my god, the woman talking about this and all these stuff and all these stuff, and even in those realities, a woman would actually come and say something like, wow, and something like, actually come up and say, yo, I try give me a pass or stuff, or stuff like. The reality is the reality, and it's like, oh, so sometimes like, yeah, yeah, we actually, so that's the reason for that episode. Be like, oh, a privilege, what you call a luxury for some, we actually have to work for it, or even if we did actually have to work for it, um, even if we don't know why we actually got the privilege, we have the privilege. And the podcast now is actually for you to understand why I have either why I have the privilege or the days I know about the days where I didn't have the privilege. You didn't. There were days where I didn't have these privileges. I know we all this having these privileges. So yeah, let's just see me out there, so balling in the privileges, bro. Yeah, hater will always hate, bro. Hater will always hate, bro. Or they could just join the celebration, bro. And be like, oh my god, you calling me a hater, bro? No, bro, we ain't calling you a hater, bro. The Bible says that it just happens that grew up in a Christian home. I grew up in a certain home, bro. So it's like certain standards. I certain standards I'm out there to naturally live up to. I have to actually naturally live up to it. So it's like that's the sad thing about going the home. Like, oh my god, I can say things like peasants, bro. Because what happens is that we actually work hard not to be peasants. So even if I'm out there, so even the streets, bro, slaving away just like you, bro. It's like yo, we actually work not to be slaves, bro. There's a reason why even my slavery days, bro. You'd actually come back and like, oh my god, bro, the slave master, bro. The slave master, bro. Only thing is missing is a whip and the person talks out you gonna you would actually go and buy the whip for me and go and make me go so boom and boom. Cause what they actually reinforce who I am or reinforce that you aren't who you see you are stuff like that. So it's like so that's the thing. I be like, yeah. The cream of the crop rises at the top, bro. All you have to do is just become the cream of the crop, bro. And there was a point in time where I was not actually at the cream of the crop, bro. For each level, bro, I was not actually the cream of the crop, bro. But for some reason, by the hook or the crook, and that's the thing, by the hook or the crook, it actually became the cream. And that's the thing where I appreciate the university and the high school I went to, bro, because you actually had to prove that you aren't at the cream of the crop, bro. That yeah, and that's the thing, bro. That even without the podcast or everything, bro, you actually have stuff that actually shows if you aren't who you say you are, bro. That's the thing, man, bro. You actually have proof to show that, yo. No matter how, no matter how it goes, the cream of the crop is just always the cream of the crop, bro. That's the sad reality of it, bro. The only thing now is that I have another picture from the University of the West Indies now that I showed me that actually who I say I am. The only thing that it actually does say 2018, bro. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's not University of West Indies. It's not actually saying who they say they are. It's actually the picture studio are the thing. No. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But what happened is that the reason why I did say 2018 because what happened is that back in 2018, bro, we didn't care about having a picture that says 2021, bro. How that nobody didn't know about the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, bro. Nobody never know about that, bro. Nobody didn't know, but my grandmother knew, bro. She knew. She was out there listening to the radio, bro. And I was out there studying the stuff. So the picture is not really the picture, That's the reason why I listened to one episode and hear about my lost wallet or stuff like that. And the person and the robber actually found the wallet, bro. The wallet, bro, it just have show me that, bro. Unless your name Colin, bro, and have that picture, bro, and you're living in 2025, bro. Like legit, you aren't who you say you are, bro. You you legit aren't who you say you are, bro. Like legit, just return it, bro. Like legit, just return it, and with the with the money in it, bro. I actually just misplaced the money, bro. That's actually that I actually just misplaced the stuff. So that's the reason why I actually listen to this stuff and be like, oh, yeah, I'm out there reinforcing that, bro. The reason why I actually saw that wallet in 2021, because I was actually establish credibility that I actually made it in 2021. So because I actually established credibility of me making it 2021 now, it was actually another thing now to actually explain as to why I have two last names. Uh-huh. So you found in the wallet now, bro. You found in the wallet now with everything in it, bro. You actually have the qualification to show that in the university days, bro. I was who I said I was. You having the wallet and all those stuff, using the card, bro, credit card, bro. Showing that bro. I actually didn't have those stuff, and I got it, bro. We got it, bro. So it's like, yeah, you couldn't get it, bro. You had to come out and use it, bro. Or maybe you had it and go there and says that those are the stuff, bro. Those are the stuff where be like, oh yes, bro. So yeah. So sometimes, like my mom gonna get me killed and stuff like that. Cause sometimes, bro, we sometimes no matter in which reality, bro, we we are who we say we are, bro. Like legit, we are the top for the. No. What happens is that the episode is saying that I work for the privilege of saying that, of saying that. So back in 2018 and 2019 and all those years, bro, all these stuff wasn't relevant for me, bro. I was basically the same person, bro. But I'm only taking some tests, pass couple tests, do some homework, like everybody's like the great person say, bro. Only to pass couple tests, do some homework, and now there's something else. Stuff no. But what happens is that no, when I actually came out those days, I was basically the same person with the same reality. I'll be like, oh, you're out there, so gonna go to the call center. So it's like, the same. Yeah, and the reason why we can't say that now in 2025, because what happens is that it takes something like Corona to say, if you're not that person, you have to remember that there was a point in time that you were actually called that. Just like I'm out here getting called bro man in 2025, bro. We, there's a point in time that you weren't actually who you say you were. So know that you actually have a chance to say that you are who you say you are, bro. You have to. That's the thing about privilege. You always have to re-establish each year. That's the reason why there's a thing called where Bob Marley come in and be like, oh yes, there's a reason why we celebrate Bob Marley's birthday every year. There's a reason why we come out and Black History Month and stuff like that. Each year becomes relevant to say, yeah, back in the each year becomes more relevant. Like, yeah, back in the days, bro, blacks didn't have those stuff. And our what happens that the whites actually took those stuff. So what happens that each year now we actually born now. The only difference is that maybe the only thing that happened in 25 is that the white no we're actually getting closer to the whites. That's the thing. Actually getting closer to the whites actually say, oh, bro, the white, did you actually do this to the black people now, bro? No, no. Did you actually do this stuff to the black people now, bro? Like that's the only difference in that. So what we actually go there and actually see that. And we're like, oh my god, yes, we actually did it now, bro. No, we don't want to do those. We ain't going back to those days now. So because we ain't going back to those days now, and they actually acknowledge those stuff, bro. What happens now is that we actually get those stuff on paper now. Right? As it's a reading, it's the friend that's the reading is fundamental. Actually put those stuff on paper, like, oh my god, and that's why called Independence Day. We are coming to August, where we have Independence Day, and be like, oh my god, put this stuff on paper and be like, oh my god, yes, we actually did this stuff, and we're not gonna do this stuff again, bro. We ain't gonna do this stuff again. But every year now we actually come back and sometimes it's not a celebration. Sometimes it's just a reinforcement like back in that's when back in the day you say this one yeah, we say this stuff now. We say this stuff back then. And but but you know, yo, we ain't doing this anymore, bro. We ain't doing this anymore, bro. Like, yeah, yeah. So it's like, this. All right. Yes, we used to be in the life of crime, bro. But we're free from a life of crime. Doesn't mean that hey, we ain't going back to the life of crime. It's just that we actually learned the lesson from that previous life of crime, bro. And we ain't going to put that back to that life of crime, bro. Unless on a different circumstance. Under different circumstances. Under different circumstances, they actually pay us right. I think sometimes life of crime, bro, is why life leave that life of crime because they will actually want to pay us right. That's the reason why that religion is I always say about that religion, bro. Cause bro, in my poor days, bro, remember my poor days, bro. Jesus carried me to this rich days, bro, so I can actually stay, bro. When the not brown person was coming calling me brown man. Maybe it wasn't disrespect on his part because he was calling. What happened in that situation was that I grew up and hear about the jokes about the black person, the Chinese person, and you know, and the white person, you actually hear those two. What happened was that in that situation, I was actually a brown man, and there was actually a black person and a person who was Chinese in that situation, and they were actually calling me brown man. And what I acknowledged was that we actually, back in what happened was that it was so funny because back in the days they were actually calling me brown man, and I lived to see myself became a man. So it's like one of those things to actually establish because back in those days, bro, there's a privilege to actually see those ages, bro. I know we actually see those ages to be the luxury to say, yo, yeah, yeah, we actually passed through those days, bro. Yeah, I remember the days, bro, where I usually hear about the fame of the black man, Chinese, and a white person. But we actually saw the two person, bro, and we actually saw the white person and the white person. It's actually just treating us just like how they say in the books, bro. Like denying us. So it's just that we have to actually go on and it's a proof to the white person like, oh yes, we are that person now. I actually prove it now as the brown man I am. I'd be like, oh my god, how the hell this brown person get you, bro? How the hell this brown person get you, bro? Like, bro, podcast show you, bro. They show you how I got you, bro. So there's a reason, bro. There's a reason why the podcast. So when I actually get it, bro, and a white person accept me, bro, and be like, oh my god, bro. And like, yo, yeah, bro. Yeah. Cause what? We're actually working for this stuff. So what happens that we actually so that's the thing about the podcast. If those days, bro, we reinforce who we say we are. You aren't who you say you are. Bro. That's the thing, bro. It'll be like, oh yeah. Even in the worst circumstances, bro, why we are the cream of the crop. Why in the basketball days the captain was the captain. So why we actually lost, bro? Because either the captain wasn't being the captain, or no, we were actually playing our role, but it's just that at the time the captain was out there, so living in the lore of being the captain. 'Cause he's actually gonna listen to this and gonna actually understand why she live. Understand why you actually lost that time. Captain was out there living in the lore of being the captain, bro. So because he was out there living in the lore of being the captain, why we actually lost the whole thing. So why the great Adija Palmer now, because he actually went to Calabar, he actually can come in and say, you have something over. Because what happens that the captain or a captain was out there so in drunk getting drunk off the fact that he is the captain and the team that was out there trying to win the stuff. So because you're getting drunk in power, bro, he didn't establish his dominance in the key part. In the key part. He didn't establish the free. That's why my previous captain now can see if actually look at the pictures, bro. Actually look at the pictures now. He could actually he say something like, oh, where is my nationals trophy, bro? Yeah, brother. Calabar has it, bro. Because what? I, you know, we have to review the tape and realize that our captain was always being drunk of being the captain, bro. Our captain was getting drunk of being the captain, so he flopped in the time we needed it most, and then the non-captain persons now had to actually step up. Like, bro, we ain't supposed to step up, bro. We were supposed to actually have this in the bag, bro. We actually had this lead, bro. We actually had the lead, bro. We actually had the lead, bro. All the captain had to do, bro, is just secure the lead. No, because we didn't secure the lead, no. They put me in the position now we actually coming out to try to secure back the lead, bro. And bro, the ball. Yeah, yeah. So it's like, because of that now, we actually live to see the day that, the great Adija Palmer is free. And now we actually gain some more freedom, but but now we actually live to tell the tale that because of our failure of our previous captain, of our correct captain, we actually, due to the failure of our actual current captain or previous captain, in our basketball days, could actually come in and say something like, I had to actually leave the boat to actually get my glory because I know he's actually looking and asking where is our nationals. That's what he actually can see in 2025. So he actually can see that, and but the reason why be careful is yeah, yeah, yeah. So why in 2025 we can actually come in like, oh yeah, captain can come in and say, yeah. Here's my national trophy because our new captain at the time, bro, he was getting drunk. And that's the reason why the episode about popularity, bro. You get drunk off the power and you fall off the high horse, bro. That's the reason why if you go back to the high school days, bro. High school days. I see those same people, bro. Back in the same people, bro. I actually saw them in the same. And the reason why why they come in and I talk about it. I go to the episode. I talk about actually go playing some basketball back in the days. And the reason why I actually leave basketball time because those times because I could actually I'd have pay for light and stuff like that. So what happens is that I actually go to those days, and what would happen is that first we go. Uh, this is after we actually our captain failed us and we out this field and become second, but we actually win and stuff like that. So I actually go back there, I actually go back there, and I went to the thing and the people I'm coming talking about where I'm from, and it's like talking about this bad one. So I was like, bro, yeah, yeah, well, we're actually not that person. Or even though you actually see that thing, bro, because of what you were actually saying, bro, I'm actually having issues passing through. And it's like, you know, ah, ah, it's good or bad, it's good or bad, it's good or bad, bro. But time or place for everything, bro. Yeah. So what happens that because and why there's respect. Like I went there, and what happens that I went there, I would go back to the high school and be like, I know I got my degree and so it's about so I would actually go back, oh my god. And be like, yes, we out there, so we're being celebrated as the fact that we actually graduated from we were actually top and we made our way, bring back basketball back to the glory, back to the glory. And because we actually went out there and living after glory now, actually go back to the glory now. The future people is living after glory, the glory, and stuff like that. I mean, I'll just recall the story. So what happens is I actually go back to the story now and living and saw someone else is living after glory. And I was the captain. So as I go back there, I'm not just playing my part in advancing the welfare. But what happens is that because we actually open the door now, we open the door, um, the newcomers out there is actually out there is living up the glory of the door being open, but don't understand why the door was open in the first place. So that's the reason why sometimes we complain about my days, my grace every days, bro. There's a reason why you know you have to actually reestablish certain stuff. And I actually go back there and stuff like that. It's not the fact that I'm saying I'm going back there and be like, oh my god, I'm this big person and all this stuff in the basketball thing. But it's like what will happen is that the same way you actually treat the um taught the child the way they should grow, that way they grow old, you will not be far from it. What will happen is that the same person living off the glory of the story, glory of our struggle, boom, living out the glory of struggle, get high and mighty, and then boom, he could not sustain that high and mightiness because what happens is that they did come from our time where even in our time when our captain was out there, so living out the glory of living out the glory of story, he actually had people out there so level minded from different perspectives to come back and say, yeah, you know, yo, days are getting drunk off the poor, bro. Yo, days are getting drunk off the poor. So what happens that he saw our captain doing this stuff and emulating his captain, our captain work, but don't realize that he was on our team. So it's like he's emulating the captain, but don't know and living up the glory of the captain, living the popular life, and then boom, getting all the girls and stuff like that. But what could have sustain itself? So it's like, oh, so why what that? So that's the reason why I be like, oh my god, they go out there, and then boom, I see the person out there so dominating. Then all of a sudden I go on Facebook and see the person in the hospital and be like, oh my god, my basketball days are over. Like, bro, like legit, bro. We actually opened the door, bro. Like legit, we actually went through the years of slavery, bro. And this is telling me, bro, in 2025, bro, or 2024 that you out there, so not gonna play basketball again, bro. We actually went through slavery, bro. Yeah, I actually went through slavery to actually see this record. could say it, bro. The sneaker, bro. I can't what? You will actually listen to this and be like, oh my god, no, I'm gonna get killed because I don't know. But no, that's the thing. Where be like, listen, episode. We work for these privileges. We work for the fact that yo, we actually made it somewhere. You take it further and you out there to get drunk just like our captain. Just like our captain got drunk, bro. And you could take it to another level, bro. So what will happen is now we'll get the OG gang back together and maybe we would actually take it further. Maybe we would actually take it further. And then when we actually say the OG or the original group on those times, the years I was playing basketball, coming with the thing now, actually do the basketball stuff that one of my guests actually did, started, actually go to the NBA, competently. I know this consistently going to the NBA and stuff like that. I'm first be like, oh my god, how they actually go to the NBA and doing that consistently. Because what we, this is the episode where be like, oh, these are the years where be like, even old. That's the reason why even my back in the days when you just my first coach, you know, even his older days, he usually come in and school us because even his older days, he was who he say he was. He was who he say he was. So it's like sometimes be like, oh, yeah, in the basketball days, bro. If we open the door and push it further, in the basketball days, we go out and push it further. And even though I'm out there so watching and saying I'm going out in the basketball team, I'm like, oh my god, yo, I go out and play ball and all this stuff. And actually did it. And yo, there's a living the glory of our struggle. And it's like, yo, bro. Yeah, yo, there's a living the glory because what? I'm not a start. I'm not the captain. So it's like, when we out there, so it's like there's a reason why you were the captain on that team and not the captain on our team. So you out there so living the glory or my position is always the position I'm determined. I'm more. And you don't see me out there so complaining. Or I would actually try to work hard to get to a different thing. But there's a reason why the cream of the crop always rise to the cream of the crop. You know. So it's like, with proper training and stuff like that. The person out there, so we could actually get him everything to go up there and go play the NBA and stuff like that. And if I actually get the chance, go out there and actually do it and play my best and actually do something. Uh, so it's like those are stuff. Where be like in 2025, what you actually learn in this episode is that you reinforce who you are or you say you are. You reinforce that's what 2025 basically coming at. So I'm saying stuff that are obvious, bro. It's like, you're me living and saying what that or a person back in that graduated in 2017 and say, oh my god, bro, those stuff are those days were the days, bro, because those were the other days or stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you're pushing the circle. So that's the reason why me now coming and talking about my days now, that person would come in and be like, oh, you know, why the hell why didn't you dominate those years? Because in my years I was not the captain, bro. I was not me for the captain, bro. There's a reason why the captain was the captain. Only thing that happened was that the captain, if there's a reason why if my captain on our last team, if our actual captain came back, he would actually be the captain. Our only thing they would be like co-captain. Oh, that's the only difference that would happen. They'd be like, oh, co-captain. That's the best that would actually happen. But that's the only thing. That's the only difference that would actually happen. Like, oh yeah, the reality is the reality. It's like, oh, we actually come in and like, yo, we are who we say we are, bro. The position we actually get, bro, is the position that we actually work for. So it's like, yo, there's a reason why back in those days we were back in those days, and why we open the door now, and the new team, the new person out there living the junk. of our struggle and be like, oh yo. And then someone like me, who wasn't started, go back and know this, doing my thing. And that's the reason why in my science day, because what you actually learn about my science day was me proving that okay, science is something and stuff like that. So that's the thing about being revolutionary. You're out there, so in the reality out there's a proving the naysayer wrong. And they have to do that till death, bro. They just have to do that till death, brother. You have to actually prove the naysayer wrong till death, I will actually prove the naysayer till death, bro. Because what happens is that the naysayer is always right. The naysayer is right. But one of the things that what I actually realized was that in and why I love him, why I actually appreciate my school. The naysayer at the time actually does is in the field that I'm actually doing and criticizing me about what I'm actually doing, but we are actually I'm actually at the same level at his where he is at 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 a lower thing, if you get what I mean. So it's like, oh, so it's not like the fact that okay, at that time he was a prodigy. Oh yeah, so in science and all this telling me that yo, if you do this or something like if you actually maybe you actually would. And it's like, oh yeah, I actually would. But at the same time, that's the thing about when in the don't appreciate my days. What I'm getting now is what I actually deserve. Though, and that's the reason the good thing about my generation. Yeah, I could always hate my generation and all this. I got what I deserve and stuff like I got what I deserve. And what will happen is that the lower level now would actually come in and be like, oh, testing this stuff like that. But you would not have that privilege of being able to test those reality if I actually didn't play a part to advance. That's the reason I play a part to advance the welfare of the whole human race. We would actually have that privilege to say in 20 or you would have that privilege to do that or stuff like that. Boom, you are stuff like that. What if they actually back in the days when I was going to high school, what if there was a culture, so back in the days in high school I would have things like taxing and stuff like that. What if those people now are level graders or stuff like that when they were leaving or coming and say, I'm going to actually train up the new set of taxers now before we leave. We're gonna train up the new set of taxers so they actually come in and take those stuff like each year out this or learn about it. Each year everybody out this learn experience the taxes. Each year because what happens every year we out this teach the people that we're gonna leave out. We have find the sign going and saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna teach you how to become the taxers, bro. We're gonna teach you how to become the taxers and stuff and we go grade level. And what happens is that because we experience that now, and what happens is that we say, okay, we're not gonna be that though. Even so, what means that reality happened. So when I reach grade level now, what happens is that you have the same people from my days coming about calling me nerds and stuff like that. But what happens is that from my science, I preach a scientist from our level now. They have the luxury now of saying, okay, they're not living the experience that I'm living now. I'm going there to see the same people from the high school, see the same people at school, the same thing. But it's just that, they don't experience that thing. They have the luxury of coming and saying, they have the luxury of saying those stuff, but not the pressure, not the pressure of coming and have to prove those stuff. A prove that a and that's the difference between the levels where we like, oh yeah, back in our time we actually had to prove that we are back in our time. Oh, we had to actually prove that we were gangsters. That's really why more I say, first come and say, oh, why the hell you don't see me record the podcast and stuff like that because you have to remember that we am from, bro. We're coming from a group of gangsters. So we actually not by being those person. We're actually not being those first. So it's like, so what will happen is that the new level now, the new comers up now, yeah, so I know podcast will come in and live in up the glory of my podcast journey and be like, oh my god, bro, why the hell we all this and that and stuff like that. But don't realize the struggles I actually went through to actually reach this far. And what will happen is that suppose I just stop the podcast, I just stop and let the person who actually out there so um or let the person out there so critique in my podcast so they take over. Boom. They become the number one. You know, I paved the path. I out there so do this stuff. And it's like, oh and do this stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah. You know, it's like we actually the pressures of what I'm actually going through now, they would actually not. They would actually have to go through, and maybe they would have pushed it forward or whatever. But regardless, what will happen is that I would actually move on with life. I will you see me out in the streets and stuff like that. Be like, oh my god, remember that guy that all day so you guys start the podcast? And I would actually be that person in real life. You know, we actually become the person in real life. And it's like, you know, those reality were actually so the same people I would actually go to the streets and be like, the same people that you guys be like, oh, you do science, bro. You I see at the call center back in the days. And be like, yeah, um, cause reality, you know, we're still dealing with the high school thing. We're like, oh yeah, we actually had to, I actually have to go there, bro, because what that was where the only place. Or what happens? Either I was not the person out there going and applying and stuff like that, or at the same time, also. But you know, at the same time, we go there. I actually went there to actually realize that oh, those customer service thing are actual work. like like a customer service representative is a customer service representative. And a scientist that goes there, they will expose that you're not actually a customer service bro. Like legit, the customers will show you that you're out there, so not a customer service representative. That you know, so me going there, bro, actually show you that you those are the level they'll be like, oh, but no, because I actually went there. No, a scientist now can have the luxury of going and say, yeah, actually was right. He actually was right. Customer service is a job. But but what will happen is that back in the days, if a science student would say, yo, if a science student would not say, yeah, those are our reality. But no, actually go and show you the reality and show you a different part. You know, so I'm out there showing you a different part. At the same time now, there's a reality now. There's a reality now that either naturally they were naturally not that at that level. They were naturally not they naturally got the path to glory. They actually not got the path to glory, and then you see me out there so working my way to the path of glory. So what means that the natural path to glory and the person working to the way of path to glory meets. And out there, so what happens is that you out there so have to you're out there, so every day you're out there so trying to answer a question that you do not know the answer to. That's the reason why it's called revolutionary for a reason, bro. You know, so that's the reason why it's called revolutionary for a reason. And there's a reason why the person out there so listening to a podcast. There's a reason why the podcast was revolutionary. I thought it was revolutionary and stuff like that. So why back in the days being called a nerd and stuff like that, we were actually the nerds were actually revolutionary because what happened is that career as a luxury. The nerds in my year were treading a path that the masses the masses actually drunk off of now. So what means that business was a revolutionary idea some centuries ago. But what happens is that I was born in a time where business and stuff like that, those were the natural stuff. So what happened is that you there's a future business students and stuff like that, future entrepreneurs out there, so living the glory, or a future person out there, so no, coming in and saying, you would have to say, okay, yo, a person can come in and say, oh, because I have a 2.9 GPA and stuff like that, I supposed to be a business person. It's up to the business people, the business community to say, yo. You know, being a no, because entrepreneur can is saying, yo, entrepreneur saying, yo, because I got 2.9 GPA or 1.7 GPA, I'm an entrepreneur and stuff like that. It's the reason why now me doing science, can say, okay, I'm gonna do the entrepreneur because yo, if this person have a 1 point at GPA and I have a 2 point lower second class, I can just find my entrepreneur ways and take up the streets, and find my way to actually come in and throw my entrepreneur way, Go to the way of the easy road, bro. So what happens now actually go to the easy road now. And what happens now, there's a pushback now from the business community now. They're saying, yeah, nah, bro, it's on an easy road. Nah, 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 I think I better road by the great Buju Banton. Which was actually, and that's the thing, So what happens is that Buju Banton was Freedom Street, bro. Freedom Street, Back in the days, he was actually in jail as well, in the great secure facility, bro. I know it's actually free. So what happens is that so what happens is that the whole community would actually come in and celebrate his freedom because he was out there charting something revolutionary and stuff like that. But what happens is that no, for the gangsters, no, um, Vybz Carter's freedom is kind of different. That's the reason why you have dancehall. No, dancehall is a more, if actually hearing speaking like that, it's a more rebellious music. So his freedom now is actually different now because what happens is that he got free from a murder charge. So that's how you actually prove your worth in the music community, in the dancehall community, by getting yourself free from a murder charge. So it's like so that's the reason why more while we don't while I would out there say saying the great Adija Palmer free and stuff like that because actually just reinforce the point of the fact that when they call me brown man and stuff like that, you this actually have to you have to actually prove you who you are and not who you are. So the attribution that comes, you assume the role of being a revolutionary, you have to can take the hits of being a revolutionary, bro. So boom, what will happen is that boom, my boss free now. Or there's a living in we live to see the glory and the story, bro. But boom, eventually he will just like he said, he may pass on and boom bam bang bang quick. And out there say he will become next Bob Marley for we call it Bob Marley for reggae for dancehall. Every year the dancehall. So that's dancehall is for the agnostics. Dancehall is for the agnostic. Dancehall is for the if you actually, cause I live through those days. So dancehall is the more provocative way of out there, so proclaiming woman and stuff like that. Christian is the more way of saying, our religion is the more way of saying, yeah, we out there to love the woman, but we always want to do it clean. We always want to take our time and all this doing it private. We always take time and experience human, bro. In dancehall, that's why for the agnostics, bro, are the people that are not atheists. I say that wrong. Or stuff like that. Dancehall is a more brawling way of saying, okay, yeah, we love woman and we love him and we love them brawling and stuff like that. That's what dancehall is. It's basically saying that okay, we love women and we love them brawling, and we're gonna show you up in the face or stuff like that. Me is a person that come in and say, okay, I love women, bro, and I like to just experience them in private and take my time with them. We actually love a virtuous woman that is actually out there, not out in the streets. Take our time and experience them in the private and I was to converse about those stuff. The elites, the elites, we are the elites, bro. I would just converse about those stuff with our elite peers and talk about yes, back in the days we usually um experience these ones and know those stuff. All those days, all those stuff. And it's like yeah, but dancehall now is actually brawling. We are going out. Oh my god, I have 10 million women, bro. I have 10 billion women and 10 million women. So that's the reason why in Brass Cartel era now, yeah, you have to go out and have so many children, so many we call baby mothers. I know it's all this trend, a one burner he turn because what happens that during the whole time you have to prove that you during his time, during his reign, we all this actually come in and prove that we all this can get girls. Even in this reality, what is saying, bro, the AIDS pandemic and all this, we have to try to come in and prove that we all this can get 10 billion girls, bro. 10 billion girls and breed 10 billion girls, bro. And breed 10 billion girls and stuff like that. But now, in his older years and freedom years, bro, you can see actually it's one burner him turn now. We actually come in and put on a ring and stuff like that. And stuff like that. But because he's free now, he actually release the shackles of us now coming up and saying things like, okay, we can turn a one burner and stuff like that. No, actually release the shackles of saying, bro, we out just want to experience woman in private. We out just want dance off people, bro. You just want to experience them exclusively, bro. Exclusively in our exclusive private area and go like, yeah, you know, there's a working for those privileges. So that's the reason why I say things like you have to listen to episode talk about sexual harassment and stuff like that, why you need consent and stuff like that. During those times, bro, during what happens that during those times, Adisha Farmer time, bro, dancer was more brawling with the woman. So what was happening though? I was growing up in those times, bro. And see those women out there so brawling out there with it, bro. And then now in 2025 they we actually see the same person. We actually see the same person and be like, what happened, bro? And it's like, bro, I was the same person back then, bro. I was the same person back then, bro. I was the same person back then when Vice Carter was free, when he got back into prison, and back then, bro. I was the same person. I have the same person, bro. The same person that does science, bro. And the only thing, bro, the only thing that, bro, this is the same person. If we actually see the same science people, we may actually be going through for the same growth. And it's a funny thing, we'll actually be the same person. We will actually be the same persons at the same place. So when the people out this, what happens is that I come from a Christian home and stuff like that. So when I go out and go out this and not pursuing the not Christian values, no, the same people will come in like, oh my God, calling out this or brawling in the streets or stuff like that. Because what happens is that because I come from a certain standard is out there so uphold and you exposing that standard shows that you actually aren't up to that standard. So that's the reason why they be like, oh my God, Colin's gonna be rich because they have big ears. It exposed that you are going to be rich. It exposed or it now shows that why if if you're there's a portraying that and then I say and then in back in those time I say, are you going to be rich, bro? And then now we out here so and we out this to the same place and be like, yo, in the yearbook, bro. In the yearbook, you ought to say this. No, I know, but it's like, so it's like the thing is that we go there in high school and be like, oh my, bro, we're the same people, bro. We just, and that's the thing when we be like, that's the thing about those days, we see the same people at the same place. And I actually respect the people at the same place for the same for the reason that we respect. The only thing would happen is that we could acknowledge those days and talk about it better, actually. And that's the reason why I talk about there are different levels to these stuff, bro. We actually see them, bro, and be like, oh wow, bro. There's a reason why actually even the days when they talk about pay your way through university and stuff like that, actually come in and say that, bro. There's a reason why even back in those days I actually didn't pay my way through. I have the privilege of saying I actually didn't pay my way into the university. Well, I work for the privilege of that not happening. So I actually work for those days, bro. And what happened is that I think a ghetto girl is stuff like we with Adisha Pumphrey and stuff like it's like the man was speaking the reality of the time. So it's like that's the reason why more while when I got disrespect from certain people in my peers is that you're exposed you actually reinforcing the reason why I see my family is the greatest blessing that I've actually ever. By you going out there, you actually expose that you actually expose the reason why if I the girl I choose is or the person I choose is a person I choose. The person I choose. Like there's a reason why those people that I choose is a person people that I choose. Because what? By you reacting a certain way, you actually and that's the reason why the episode I'm talking about there's an expiration for everything. There's a reason why there there's a reason why things have to stop or something like that. Because even though I may change, I may get richer, so that I may be the same person. And what will happen is that a female, so we're going to establish the fact that a female will always be a female, or stuff like that. A female will always be a female. We are males. We are males. I am a male. I am a male. So we establish those realities. But it doesn't change the fact that we actually like certain preferences are even back in those stuff like that. There's certain thing where be like certain disrespect, and be like, oh, the high school days, and be like, what, and that was the reason why I say, oh, I like my days of universities, my high school days because what happens is that the respect that I earn I worked to earn in those days. In my six form days, what happens that people came in and saw the results of those days and coming on and living off the results of those days, living off the glory, and then coming like, oh my God, no, it's fun to make fun of Colin because stuff like that, because that's the cool thing and stuff like that. But yo, we actually had to work for those respect. We actually have to work for those respect. Back in those days, and it's like, yo, now you're here and you're out there so living off the drunk off the poor. And it's like, no, it's cool. So that's the reason that's the reason why certain things when they come in and it's like, oh yeah, we don't we're coming like, oh yeah. Where they in the verse in the Bible like, oh, they're coming like, yo, that's not the person because yo, I actually work for the respect. I try to work for the respect. So now that you're this go and disrespect me like that, and it's like, no, the reaction that you actually get from me, no, the reaction that you actually that you got that you know everybody out there to get a free opinion. So it's like, oh, yo, so you can go this and say, oh, that and that. But when things and times change, and it's like, oh, we're out there so be the same, see with the same person, see with the same place, and it's like, yo, you actually like the I am who I am actually say I am, bro. So it's like everything is exact. Just like Einstein. So there's a reason why our high school was prestigious and stuff like that. Why I said why a failure, why in 2025 a failure for me is biochemistry, lower division as well. Because what I actually worked to be in the top that back then, and that was a failure now. So, by you coming back now and out there, so I ask a question that would be obvious and stuff like that. And you're out there so casually out there so going on, oh, that's a disrespect. As a female, that's a disrespect for a reason because what? I'm not a female, but I'm a person that there's a reason why I didn't talk in high school because what? When I was growing up in primary school, I was I'm the same person. I'm the same person. So it's like we actually ask this question. So the way you answer me shows who you are. So the provocative way of actually I yeah, answer and stuff like that. it's like, yo, you expose that that's the nature of the thing. So that's why it's like, oh, my high school experience was a high school experience because yo, you expose that whole. So reason why I say, oh, when I go to, I can always tell about the city because I actually go to the city, you expose that's how this but I need the great Adija expose that's how this thing go. If you don't have a car, yo, this is not the thing, bro. It's like sometimes oh this can I can bash the man and stuff like that. But the man was actually proving the point. Like yo, they actually expose we actually expose who we are. And it's like there's a reason why we are why we were so even the top at the time, bro. Even if we were there, brother, and he was the top at the top in the same place, in the same place, there's a reason why were respected that way. So even and then what means that you come in the new year, actually see the drunk of see the drunk of the respect that we actually earned those days. I know there's a playing it off. I know there's a coming and carrying because oh we back oh yeah, it's back then. It's back then, bro. But actually I feel, actually what means that the high school person didn't know us but or stuff like that. You have to reestablish yourself again. You'll be like, oh yeah. Yeah, we actually know them back then. We actually know them back then. But you actually know those person back then. But no, all those stuff back then doesn't work again. That's why in my high school days, when I was at the bottom with the same people that came from primary school, when they were at the top or stuff like that, I had to work my way back to the top or stuff like that. But even when I work my way back to the top or stuff like that, it shows that I was meant to be there. It shows that I'm meant to be there. So sometimes be like, yo, I'm not a person that oh they're so pushy or stuff like that. But when I make certain declaration and stuff like that, the fact that I actually matriculated to the places I was, when I actually make some declaration and stuff like that, you can out there go brawling, 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 and brawling, and brawling. But if I'm actually not worth the if I'm actually not worth the spot that I am at, I would you would actually not see my existence or existence wouldn't actually. So the fact that okay, the disrespect is a disrespect. Like that's those are the story. Right? A disrespect is a disrespect. So on both parts. So it's like oh, I still remember. Oh, I asked a wrong question. I asked a wrong question. It's like that and that as a female. I'm like oh because a female and stuff like that. Yeah, but bro, I work for the privilege to be able to ask those questions. That doesn't mean that the female out there supposed to go out and get the privilege of answering me like some like no bro. No, we actually work for the respect. And it's like, you know, those are even my like, yo, actually work for those things where be like, oh, an English speaking person will be like that and that's really my call center days, but even those days I was not able to speak very fluent, but I was able to solve most of the problems. So even though I could not speak very fluently, I guess if they go back, and that's really with time, if actually go back and those same people call and stuff like that, they may come and I guess you can actually go back and the next good thing about it, if I go back and be like, okay, yeah, from those times, if those people say, oh, they didn't like I was terrible at doing my stuff. They can attest to the fact that I was actually who I say I am. They got who they asked for. Or they got the job. I wasn't the best customer service or something like that, but we actually was doing some service to the customer. We were actually doing the service to the customer. So it's like, so that's it. That's the thing where be like, yo, um sometimes I disrespect and it's like we see your fingers and it's like oh you have to actually remember that yo privilege that we actually once had we actually we actually attain it for a reason, bro. And we actually sometimes it and that's the reason why there's a there's a reason why there's a re-establish of independence and stuff like that. Because it's to remind us of where we're coming from. To say that there's a reason why we aren't that person anymore. Or we try not to be that person anymore. And it's like, oh, actually have to re-establish those stuff to be like, yeah, we the respect that we actually get, we are actually getting now. We actually work for it, so you actually out there, so and that's the reason why we out there. So in even high school days, the clicks and stuff that we actually enroll, why the clicks actually work, why the clicks actually work. Because what happens is that we actually had to work together to actually gain the respect that we actually get. So the clicks that we actually had is actually the clicks, bro. So it's like more why we can go out and talk the same way. I would come up with the same thing, the same place, and what would happen is that my respect would always be the same. And because of my respect, the disrespect would actually be so blatant that you'll be like, yo, that's actually a disrespect. That's actually a disrespect to a big level. To a big level. It's like those are stuff that are reinforced in the 2020. 25th year, be like, oh, we could have fun and jokes aside. But the thing of actually we are who we actually say we are. And the reason for exploration now is to give a chance, but is a way to give the chance for a person who thinks that who we are to become to test that and say, okay, yeah, we aren't who we say we are. I will go through the trial of not being that person. But through that trial now, we actually have to reprove that we who we are, we say we are, and when we actually get back that respect now, then we go back and be like, okay, yeah. So then we can go back to the drawing board and say, oh, that answer you get or that reaction was not warranted or not warranted or because it's not warranted, it makes sense actually not even deal, but because yeah, that's the way how I roll. So that the group that I actually get deal with is the group that we is dealing with. So me back in primary school and you see me in high school and stuff like that. It's not the sense that there's a change the ways of the primary school. It's just like the primary school days is over, bro. You have to actually meet if you didn't meet in high school, you have to meet somewhere. But we see the same. I will be the same person, but it doesn't mean high school. So what means that no, I have to actually earn my respect now in the high school years. I'm out there to learn myself, and that's independence. I have to actually I have to actually gain this respect myself. And out there to gain the respect myself, bro. Actually come in and gain the respect now. What will happen is that no, because I actually gain the respect myself, when actually what happens is that when a newcomer comes in, it comes in now, and that's the reason why I talk about reinforcement. When a newcomer comes in and acknowledge a disrespect, or acknowledge something, and they call it a disrespect. At the first time, we cannot why actually have the podcast is now we actually establish that it's a new level now, new people coming in, so it's like we ain't gonna be little draconian ways now about this a taxing like back in the days. So I would actually be like, yo, there's a reason why I was in science and not our part person actually this man. There's a reason why I was in science and my friends were in other classes and I see them in other classes and stuff like that. But why I was in science? Because what happens is that the science people will actually build a much rapport with each other that our jokes and our way of dealing, we actually understand the way. It was actually perfect. So the popular girl in the science class and me, no matter how which way we go, we actually understood her. So that's the reason why sometimes we come when a newcomer comes in, our person that know me from they know someone from the community come in now and see it. Is that the respect is that y- there's there's a standard that I uphold the standard. You know, we the family come from a certain place, and we out this trying to uphold the standard. So what means that you if you what happens that the way of the school is the way of the school for a certain reason. So we actually have to respect those things also. But when you actually come back now and be like, okay, you know when the community now, then you actually come in and see me in the in the in the place or see me at a certain place. There's a reason why the cream of the crop rises to the top again. Where you be like, oh, even though we come from the same place, like even if we come from the same place, we deserve where we at. I deserve where we at, or stuff like that. Or you can't disrespect me out there at one place, then come back at the other place and be like, oh, we're cool now and stuff like that. And then what the reputation that I built at one place, yo, yeah, so just like you, just like the other person, the person build up the reputation in the community. I'm out there so disrespecting his community reputation. I build up my reputation in the school now, and then you come from the community coming in and disrespect my school reputation, bro. What will happen is that my school reputation now would actually actually come in and squash your thing because what I'm actually in the school. That's why I be like, oh, that's the reason why a nerd or a gangster will not actually see me out there in the streets unless I have to actually out there to be in the streets. And what will happen is that because I'm in the streets now, the gangster rules apply. And the reason why I'm out there so living because out there so I follow the gangsters rules. Because what happens is that you cream of the crop rise at the top, bro. Like we actually at the same level that we actually earn. So if we actually come there, we actually come and earn the respect. Go and actually we earn the right to ask questions. We have to earn the right to ask questions that we ask. Or learn the right have to respect it. We earn the right to do the things that we do. So even when we ask some certain questions and be like, oh my god, and stuff like that. And how there's a give me a certain respect and stuff like that. Other places, out in the streets, you'll be like, oh my god, it's a female and stuff like that. But the the reputation I built is that there's a reason why I actually was in if you go to the high school, right? Go and be like, oh, there's a reason why I was in that class and why I actually made it here. If we actually didn't, a newcomer would not actually meet me if I did not live up to the standard. So that's the thing where be like, oh, the luxury that you're out there so seeing, you're out there so getting at a time that you actually see me. If I did not live up to those standards, you would actually not see me exist at all. You will actually not see me exist at all because we actually do not meet up to those standards. So it's like those are the stuff where I be like, oh yeah, yeah, So that's the reason why I feel like this episode is very important in 2025. It's like a new year or there's a reestablishing who is a new level and same thing, but there's a reestablishing. The core is the core, even the core isn't perfect, but we're out there establishing who we are out there to more establishing who we are. So we are the nurse for a reason, bro. Because a nurse is a nurse, bro. Or actually, but maybe I would try not to be less nerdy or stuff like that. But the natural are less religious and stuff like that. But the same thing would actually come out the same way. Because there's a reason why the cream at the crop rise a bit. There's a reason why the cream and there's a reason why even if we out there so yeah, we're gonna make it. There's a reason why we out there so who we say we are. There's a reason. No matter how much we try, bro. There's a reason why the things were the way they are, and there's nothing wrong with asking the question we ask, bro. fun and jokes aside, and there's nothing wrong with the proclamations that we made in the streets and stuff like that. But for for every proclamation I made, you actually not see me. I would you the person coming now that I actually come in and make the proclamation with, or living off the luxury of making the proclamation with, where a science person at a lower level could actually come in and be like, oh yeah, 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 we're living off the drunk off. You can come in and stare me and say, okay, you can come in and play games now and stuff like that, and this and those stuff. Because what happens is that we actually have re- go to the standard. We have to rise above the standard of becoming the nerd. Even those days where I actually wasn't at the top, bro. So it's like I actually have to rise up my level to get the privilege of out there so playing the games or stuff like that, being the nerd or stuff like that. So if that means like okay, I'm gonna give up certain woman or stuff like that because I love playing games or stuff like that. Those are the stuff that comes with it, and those are the stuff that all this or comes to the stuff that comes to reaping the world. If you out there so don't make no sacrifice back then, you won't get in the wars that I get now in 2015, 2016, those stuff, and 2025. Because what happens is that they put in the groundwork back then. They put in the groundwork back then. So it's like, those are groundwork put in now to actually get these rewards now. And the rewards to the outside world is not rewards. And that's the thing where I be like, oh, to the outside world, that's not reward. But hey, it's not, it's rewards to us, bro. That's why you have the dry season, bro. We're out this time, be like, okay, we're not getting those rewards, bro. Cause sometimes the rewards what we actually deserve is not the rewards. And those stuff. The rewards what we actually deserve is not actually the rewards. So it's like, oh, you see us at a low point, it's being like, oh yeah, yeah. I know it's a living out of junk of the glory and stuff like that. But we actually work for the privilege of getting those rewards. Going on the street calling us bro man and all this stuff. We actually work for the privilege of those stuff. You actually work for the privilege of getting those stuff. So you can out there to be like, oh yeah, yeah, back in high school or back in those days or stuff like that. But you wouldn't even have the opportunity of seeing back in those days if I actually you actually become the 100%. You actually become the 100%. And that's the reason of becoming the 99. You actually become the 100%, bro. There will be no back in the days, bro, because those were always the days. There will be no back in the days, bro. Because those were actually always the days. I'd be like, oh. One thing you what they say you'll be like, you're not you will be saying nothing, bro. No, really, you're not you will be saying nothing, bro. You're out there to be like, you know, because that you become the 100%. And I think right, even in my 100%, I'm out there so comfortable in my 100%, bro. Even my 100%, I'm out there so comfortable in my 100%, bro. Because the 100% that actually I work for actually was the 100% actually was working for. And it's like, oh, we actually get this. So sometimes actually I appreciate those high school days to respect the privileges that I get. I I had in those primary schools. I appreciate the family that I come from. So those are something actually I have to go through and experience. Be like, oh wow, yeah. Even though I could all this going out and preaching about and I want to help people and all this stuff, I going out and those days, bro. You actually go out and appreciate the family that you come from. We appreciate it, bro. And what happens is that I, the friends that I have, bro, they appreciate the value that I bring to the table. They appreciate the value that I bring to the table. Because what? If I did have the value, bro, you would, I, I would always be in the streets or in the grave. That's basically it. We'd always be in the streets or in the grave, bro. So that's the thing I'm like, yo. Family is like greatest blessing, bro. Yo, we actually work for these privileges. So sometimes be like, oh, certain stuff, and be like, yeah, we actually work for these stuff. So it's like the podcast, a person goes in the street, like, oh, what the hell, oh, this is all this podcast because yo, I'm out in the streets, bro. I'm like, if you're in the streets, why they always say work in the podcast? We're like, because actually I work to get the respect in both places, bro. Actually work to get the respect in both places. So that's the reason why they say that episode exists. The same thing as well. So that's the reason why in the podcast, I don't start watching people idolizing them. I'm like, oh my god, bro. I'm not disrespecting them, bro. But knowing that okay, they were actually at the top. I'm not disrespecting the fact that they were actually. And that's the reason why the person who actually makes something popular, he is to be respected. Can actually bring it forward, just like ordinary days when we Corona come in and make my days relevant now. Cause that's the thing, if there was no Corona days, bro, or do you if there was no Corona days or stuff like that, it would just basically be the same old, bro. And that's the thing, bro. Like, if you listen to Kobe's death and stuff like that, actually relate to the podcast and stuff like that. If the person wasn't who he say he was, bro, we wouldn't even be out there celebrating his death. Or the podcast would out there to be having me saying like, "Yo, bro, I felt it to his heart, bro." It's because what you actually work for the respect, bro. So, yo, it's so it's like that's the reason why I'd be like, not normal things are the way they are, bro. Things are is why I think things are things. We are what we are for a reason. We are where we are for a reason, bro. No matter where we are who we say we are for a reason, bro. And we can upgrade and stuff like that, but the core is the core for a reason. Our we this is just another episode to just reinforce the fact that in 2025 my name is due to the constraints of reality I'm out this name Smith Brooks. So it was that and back in the days you'd always say hear me saying the same things. And what will happen is that that doesn't change the fact that back in the days, bro, if we didn't get along, now that my name is changed, bro, yes, we're gonna get along again, bro. No, bro. We actually more I'm the same person, bro. Like legit. So it's like we actually come in and respect the expertise, but at the same time we act the same thing, bro. We're in the same place, bro. Like the same So that's the reason why when actually I made the podcast. It wasn't actually for a certain group of people. It was actually for certain people. Or happens that people start listening. And what happens that now I have to this episode to re-establish the fact that I didn't change. We just that I actually wanted to do this now. No, we actually doing this now. So it's like yeah, that's the thing, bro. We see this. That's the thing about high school people. They go in the book and they see me in the same face, bro. They see me in the same face, bro. Even if you shoot it wrong and all these stuff, they see me with the same face, bro. They see me in the same face. No, no, that's the thing. They actually see me in the same face, bro. If they shoot it and all these stuff, bro. That's the thing about the life where we like, if we actually wasn't supposed to get along, we will actually not get along. That's basically it. That's basically it. So it's like, we just work how we work. The podcast is here for a reason. And what happens is that I make a request, it got denied. It doesn't change the fact that I would actually make the request. It doesn't change the fact. It's just that we'd actually do it. It's just that what happens that at the reality, I could not when you were available, I would actually wasn't available at the time. So we'd actually do things like reschedule and all these stuff and all these things. But at the same time, even with the podcast or stuff like that, regardless of where I am, the respect that we actually earn is the respect that we actually earn in our fields. So even if we're going out and in a drought, in a drought, and be like, yo, we out there so not we not getting any job or stuff like that. There's a reason why we out there so we are this piece of paper even nowadays when we're unemployed is worth something because if we actually didn't have any skills when we go out in the streets, when we actually go out and be like, yo, if they come out and ask us something, we ain't getting paid for it, but I can actually tell you that, yo, just go right here. Just go right here and actually do this. And I get you this. That doesn't mean that our expertise isn't valid. It's just that we ain't getting paid for it now. Ain't getting paid for it now. Ideas don't need to get paid for it. So it's like, so those are the same reasons why I grew up in a high school thing. Be like, oh my God, it's even, I must, that's the reason why we have the high school yearbook and stuff like that. Because what the cream of the crop rises at the top, bro. Why we have career days and stuff like that. So even though a gangster could be a profession, bro, you can always be like, oh my God, bro. You out there so want to be a gangster can be a valid profession on our IDs, bro. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm gonna study to be a gangster, bro, and get a gangster certification and stuff like that. And and I would choose what I wanted to choose same way. And we out there to do our get our gangster degree and I would say the same gangster song. And it's like, yo, that's basically the same thing. Um, we actually reinforcing who we are. It's just that we just another way of doing it. So what happens that I go in the streets, so I be like, oh my God, they call me brown man and big ears and stuff like that. I'm gonna reach in the future. Yo, they tell me that you actually saw you in your eyes, big ears and brown people were the rich people. So that was the reality that I'm always growing up with. So what will happen is that the wrong thing to assume is when the person become rich and all these stuff, and you always at the bottom, bro. I'm supposed to be out there to be like, yo, you know. So that's the thing where those days at the bottom, we gain the respect at the bottom, bro. We get if at the bottom, we're always again the respect. That's the thing, bro. If at the bottom, growth again the respect. So that's the reason why for the podcast. If you're out there listening to the days, you already hear the fame of me. But you also listen to the days, yo, when we didn't have that fame, great in the toil and stuff like that. So even in if we out there say hear about my days when we was just taking up this and cheers and stuff like that. When I actually came in and taking up those this and cheer, bro, it gave more respect. Because bro, even though they were looking down on it, bro, it, I actually brought even they did call me brown man, bro. My natural evil, even if I was faking it, bro, I was out there to gain the respect of out there, so being the person and flopping those cheers and taking up those cheers and all this. So what will happen now is that the new person now will come in and living off the drunk of taking up those cheers and be like, oh yes, yes, because I don't realize that though there were days when they didn't respect that feel. But I actually take it up now and because of my reputation, it actually brought it up. That doesn't mean that the job wasn't looked down upon. But that doesn't mean when I get drunk off the power, high off the supply, don't forget your role. No, don't forget your role. Like we are the role for the reason, bro. Like we are the role for the reason, bro. Like no matter how we out there say out there's a call disrespecting us and all these. So that's why back in those days, no, bro. And that's why those days you actually have to listen to those days to experience. Be like, yo. Back in those days, those disrespect and stuff like that, to realize that yo, even those days, like legit, you actually would not meet us if we didn't reach the level. So it's like those. That's why those days are important to establish. We'll be like, yo, when I actually go back to certain places, we'll be like, yo, even those days I earned those respect, bro. Like, even those days you're like, yo, yeah. So that's the reason why I have to watch some IG and be like, oh, I have to come back to the universe, be like, oh my god, my father named this thing now for me and stuff like that and stuff like that. So when I actually, if I actually get back and go back in the universe, stuff like that. And you have the great Arbor and be like, oh, this drop, now I got new demands now, bro. But actually, I could say something like that, bro. Because we actually have to work through the privilege to get the first demands, bro. We actually have to work for the privilege to get the first demands. So that we actually come in and start drop and be like, okay, yeah, we actually need new demands now, bro. Like, yo. Like, when I actually go back there, we actually do not want to see this person anymore, bro. We actually don't blurt out just blurt out this person. Every time I see this person, bro, they'll be like, yo, let's blurt him out, bro. Let's like every time we come out, I see the person, bro. Like every time, and that's the reason why I talk about those days to say that, yo, when they bring up my name those days, bring up everything, even the facts, like yo, we dominate in our field, bro. You would so you have so even even the fact that you were out there dominating your field or stuff like that. When I came there, I would not be there if I wasn't dominant in my field either. So it's like they out there so laughing. That was the reason why the podcast was. You get to experience all day when people were laughing at our part. And the reason why that was because there are people there in the same level doing this that will actually come and do the same thing, but they will get praised for the same thing. They will come in and like, oh my god, aviation was not revolutionary. And what will happen is that a person is popping up and be like, oh my god, oh the Coopers coming and be, oh aviation wasn't cool. Boom. And stuff like that are making it cool. The work doesn't change. The world doesn't change. The cool person now would have to actually come in and be like, yo, come on. And you'd have to come in and be like, yo, you have to come in and take up the cheers, bro. like, like legit, like, yo, we actually come in and take up the cheers. So it's like, you can't just put you in and be like, oh my God. So it's like, that's the thing I'd be like, oh, yo, not because we're out there so taking up the cheers and stuff like that, doesn't mean that we can't out there to become the person and be like, oh, taking up cheers is not the new in thing now. But, you know, there's a reason that's the thing about sometimes we laugh and laugh, laugh and laugh, but serious time is a serious time. And it's like, you know, fun and games, that's the reason why the episode about Corona fiasco was a fiasco. It's actually relevant, till death, for my thing till death, because what happened is that, like, legit, bro. It was a thing where I'd be like, oh, maybe I should have actually go there and actually go to the graduation and stuff like that to get the paper so that this thing would actually not be a fiasco as it would be, or what will actually need be like, oh yeah, oh, we actually try to go there so that we actually, so the people at least running up the amount would not up there be running up the amount in the in the pandemic and stuff like that. But repeat, and that's the thing really important of this episode, getting an identification and stuff like that. Where be like, okay, you live and die by this. And what will happen is that the cream and the crop rises at the top, bro. The cream and the crop rises at the top, bro. And when the cream and the crop rises at the top, we're like, yo, we, yeah, and that's the reason why talk about suicide and stuff like that. There are people out there, so listening that suicide that I actually saw in real life, bro. Actually saw in real life, man. Actually coming and see posts that, oh, they died. We actually see this person. I've actually seen this person in real life, but what was that? They didn't respond to me, bro. So maybe they actually needed help, bro, and I could actually help them. But they actually didn't respond to me, bro. I was like, how you treat me back then, like legit. You like how you treat us back then, we're like, why the hell you out there killing yourself now in 2020s? If I'm alive in 2025, how the hell are you not alive? And stuff like that. Those are the stuff that the audience are getting in 2025. Like, bro, like, people they posting RP and Instagram. It's like, what in the world? After I saw this person in real life, where are they? Where are they, bro? I was actually looking for these persons, bro, back in the days, bro. I'm at the same place, bro. So how the hell these persons actually dead, bro? How the hell we actually get these persons dead, bro? So it's like those are stuff where we like, yo, so stuff are stupid. Where we like, okay, you can't do like that. It's like, no, bro, like legit. It was a problem, bro. The death was actually a problem, bro. Like, there's a reason why they said do the suicide stuff like that. That girl, I actually saw that girl. That's why back in the days, bro. I was talking about back in the days, I was watching YouTube and see the person that killed herself and drink bleach. And why I talk about the episode now about labeling stuff and actively when out there's a cooking, you out there's actually come out and not drink bleach and stuff like that. Cause we actually saw these persons out in the streets. Bro. We actually saw these people out in the streets. And all of a sudden, we hear that they die, bro. Like, bro, like we, I was the nerd, bro. So if you're the girl now, you say, oh, because I'm a girl and I'm out there in the universe and getting pressure on all these stuff, the pressure of universe, said, bro, I was actually there. I was actually there with you. I got the lower second class with, and you were in there, being the popular person. Even in university, we weren't. You were in the popular person. So what happens is that because you're out there so living the drunk off the flies, drunk off the highs, bro. When we out there so need to get help, you didn't see me, bro. You didn't see me, bro. So it's like, yo, how the hell am I supposed to help you, bro? If you're out there so living the drunk off supply, even in the university days. So that's why even in university days, bro, you have those same people, bro, and they come complain about the same thing, bro. And be like, oh my god, bro. And what happens is that my grandmother, bro, that's why I love her, bro. Even though she told me the raw truth, bro. She told me the raw truth, bro. So what will happen is that those same university people coming the same. She told me everything, bro. She told me everything till death, bro. She told me everything till death, bro. Till death it was part, bro. She actually told us everything till death. So it's like, oh, there seems some person out there that actually went to university with them. Like, oh my god, they died. I'm like, bro, how how in the world you dead, bro? Like, well, if they actually died, they would actually see my grandmother, right? And my grandmother would be like, what the hell did you die for, bro? Yeah, yeah. Cause what happens is that I grew up in the what you call capital punishment era. You actually get beaten like, why are you running? That's what we talk about slavery. Why are you running? Why are you running? All these stuff, you know. So that's what it is when I take out and they take my stuff and make memes now right now, like stuff like that. These stuff are relevant now to actually come in to reinforce the fact that yeah, bro. Like I did when I go out in my blaze of glory, dying, bro. We I was actually where I was actually wanted to be, bro. We actually wanted where we actually was where we actually wanted to be, bro. So it's like if you actually wasn't a person out there, I'm seeing that they post that they died, bro. I'm like on Instagram too, bro. That's the thing they posting on Instagram. I'm like, bro, just answer my follow request, bro. Let me see how because I legit see you right there, bro. We were actually there, bro. We were I was actually there. Only thing difference is that you did actually. So sometimes be like, oh, some people come and say, oh, I didn't help them back then because I didn't work on the podcast, bro. I was out there in real life telling you the real stuff. I was out there telling the real life. The podcast, me telling a newcomer now, say, bro, I experienced this, bro. The same niggas, bro. It's gonna be the same place, bro. So just do, yeah, yeah. So we just laughing about this now, but yo, the same people at the same place, bro. This is the same people, bro. This is the same people. So the podcast is actually a way of saying, yeah, we passed through the space now, so we ain't going back there, bro. We ain't going back there. Or a person from back in those days now will actually come in and be like, why you weren't, why you listen to me talk about the university days? And then even my university days, I go there and enjoy my university days. And I enjoy the females that I enjoyed in those days. And they actually respected me for whatever reason. In those days. In those days. And what would have happened is that I will live my glory and story and stuff. And what happens is that even my high school days would actually come out, see me in university, living the glory and story. It's the same thing, bro. Same me that same place, bro. Nothing did change. I would be the same person, same thing. 3 years, the same thing. And what will happen is that I come back now. What will happen is that I come back in the adult world now. I see the people that from the high school days that is made to the university days now come back. And I see them now and they live after I have stuff. And that's why I think that's why movies and stuff like that actually coming. And that's reached for the podcast. So it's this when you actually listen to this, there's reaching over the 1% now. Where you actually see these things in movie, you actually live it now, and then your days will be like, oh, it's just a new set of people now that actually come in now, that actually came in, and all this are trying to reinforce this stuff. So what will happen is that there's nothing wrong for a popular person or there's go and get a degree. That's why you have a thing. That's why I think you have the podcast that actually got the influence from was Tupac, and you have Tupac with a degree. So we have it. We have a so we have a gangster and we have a gangster that actually got a degree. So there's nothing wrong with a gangster getting a degree. It's actually not a gang educated gangster. And what will happen is that if I would actually naturally become the person that we say we are at the same place. So what will happen is that gangster now coming now, I will say, that gangster now coming now, I will say, okay, we're out there so because that gangster out there so have all the politicians coming now. Now we nerds now have coming now and get naturalized, becoming a naturalized is get our IDs and become a politician now. The nerds would actually naturally come and vote the same way that we will actually be voting for game. That's the reason why our first word is our first word for a reason. And why the reason why the nerds actually become we actually try to go to university. That is like, why I get why the bottom is the bottom, the top is the top, and the middle is the middle. Because what is the reason? Oh yeah, we're at the same place. We're at the same place. So it's like respect the respect is always earned. Because what is that? Actually, no matter where I actually go, I earn the respect to ask those questions. Even I earn the respect to ask those questions. Even back in those days, I was say, okay, I'm recording this episode, so just in case I have a child or stuff like that. And boom, what will happen? I have a child and they actually listen to this and be like, oh, these stuff. And what will happen now? The child out there so seeing the person that was bullying us and all those stuff and be like, oh, even though they see the bully on me, bro, they actually coming like, oh, I see your accolades now and see why you're all this working for this stuff. So, you know, like these are the stuff that we there's a privilege that we work for, and that's why the slavery days, those were the slavery days for a reason, bro. That's why there's a hero, the hero for the reason, bro. because we actually was working for these. We didn't we wasn't out here so doing science to out here so getting I say we have 10 10 CXC or something like that. We actually had a reason why we were out there so getting this stuff. It's just that on our road to it, we weren't smart enough to get the 10 do the 10 degree or do how much degree I did or how much get so much stuff at that time. They just that but we actually had the interest. We actually had the interest in this stuff. So it's like, that's why give it a bully and stuff like that in high school and stuff like that. It'd be like, oh, you see them on the streets and be like, oh, you reach up around. Oh, they actually live right there. They actually live right there. Like, wow, they actually live right there. And it's like, yo, if we would get along in the high school or in the streets, bro, there's a reason why I am here, bro. There's a reason why, even when you're out there still not following us or stuff like that, bro. There's a reason why we go to the science, bro, and you're still there. So even if we're in the science, bro, and you're out there with the popular girl and stuff like that, I was still naturally gravitate to this trying to play the game and find a girl that play the game and stuff like that. If you out there to take the game and stuff like that, you take the girl and the game and stuff like that, we'll actually always achieve nothing. Like that's legit. That's legit this stuff, bro. That's legit. That's the reason why I say, yo, we are who we say we are, bro. Like every time they go through and we're like, oh, wow, 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 we actually who we are, bro. Like, yo, there actually should be, yo, no, really, like that's the thing. We'll be like, oh, that was actually this thing. So that's the reason why the podcast will be like, yo, I was where I was back then. The podcast is just a new way for me to do stuff now, but you know, back in the days, nothing did it change. If we didn't get along a certain way, bro, we still would get along in these days. And and what would happen is that so, you know we I was the way I was for a certain reason because what I work for those luxuries, bro. I work for those luxuries, and and I work for those luxuries, and I'm glad for those luxuries. So even the grave, I'd be like, oh my god, bro, I want those luxuries same way, bro. In the grave, bro. I'll be like, yeah, I want those luxuries same way, bro. I don't want these people out there in my grave, bro. I don't want these people out there in my grave, bro. Like, I work so I could actually avoid these people, bro. I work so I could actually avoid these people. We interact with them, bro. We interact with them, bro. I acknowledge their existence, bro. But we actually working to say, yo, they actually, yeah, we actually trying to avoid all these conversations going forward. So it's like, so that's the reason why I talk about my go down the street and say, oh, drink or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, my respect is my respect for a reason because we earned that. So back in my dorm days, the respect I earned is my respect there. You would not see me if did not able to go. So because we actually go there now, and out this what will happen is that I go there and actually matriculate and actually go there. And then boom, I go in a thing that is not like again. So we're also picking up this and cheers. We're also picking up this and cheers and stuff like that. But what happens is that people that out there so because someone is picking up this and cheers and our community, our community, community that if though I'm picking up this and cheers, we're out there so that's a higher thing that is respected more than not just being a cluster. But that doesn't mean that you're still the same person. You're still the same person. You're still the same person, bro. Or it's just that you're out there so securing your spot. And what will happen is that you go out in the streets and what happens the next year you go out there and secure your spot and a couple people they secure their spot. Because they were at the grass. So like I that's it. There's a reality now where I didn't actually go and do this stuff and didn't secure those spots. And you see me up there and you say, okay, because of that, you're not coming back on the house. I'll actually go to my family and be like, okay, no, I actually went to this hall no, after I tried to go to one this hall no. And be like, oh my god, I can't afford this hall no. I can't afford this hall. So would actually go out and see me out there so renting. So the same people that's coming from the hall would actually go out and see me out in the streets the next year. I'm like, oh, see me out there so renting. I'm like, oh my god, the great Draco Malfoy is out there in the streets. Rent, renting and taking up cheers. Rent, and stuff like that. And what will happen is that my natural charisma would be that people would naturally come in and be like, oh my god, I'm actually going to go and rent now. So what will happen is that because your respect is your respect. So what will happen is that um people from back in the days now will come in and try to earn. There's nothing wrong there. So what will happen is that with each level, you work for the privilege that you get. What will happen is that a person coming now with the glory and story and all these stuff and coming and be like, oh my god. And you come in and come into the culture. Come into the culture and be like, oh my god, I come into the culture. And but that's not your ninja way, bro. That's not our ninja way, bro. That's not our ninja way, bro. Our ninja way is not the creative way. But no, that's the hard. That's the culture, bro. That's their ninja way, bro. Their ninja way is creative and stuff like that. So now we actually have to participate in this creative activity. That now becomes our ninja. So because we're not the person, the ninja way, we actually gain the privilege of having have coming in their country, bro. They have the nice ninja culture of women and all this. So they have the same culture of men. But we wrote this with the ninja way. Wrote this and say, oh, that's not our ninja way, bro. That's not our ninja way. So because we that wasn't our ninja way, bro. We got there in the streets. I what is I doing art. Yo, we got there in the streets and I say, oh, that's not our ninja way. I say, oh. But we out there so because we want this to try and secure the hotspot. So what will happen is that you will see the glory of me out there, so not living out there in the ninja. So the new person coming now see me living the glory of the ninja way, but not seeing the disrespect I'm out there getting. But at the same time, not realize that like, yo, we didn't care about these stuff. Those are that's your guys ninja way, bro. That's your guys ninja way, bro. We out there to just have to get on the hard, bro. We are that's how we go. So that's all right. That's all right. That's our ninja way, bro. So it's like, oh yeah. So because that's our ninja way, we actually have to uphold the standards of their ninja way. We have to uphold the standards of their ninja way. That's the reason why I be like, okay, yo, man or brother, you have to actually go and upload the standards of ninja way. Or if you're naturally charisma enough, you can go out and change the ninja way, bro. So that's what actually happened. I went out there and somehow I changed the ninja way. I changed the ninja way, bro. I changed the ninja way. I didn't change anything, no, bro. After I just went there with the same thing that actually go from home and went there and do the same thing in the college days. I went there and did the same thing in the college days. So you see me look at those messages coming in, bro. Yeah, free. Look at those messages coming in, bro. And like, oh, I did the same thing in the college days. So what happens is that nothing did a change, bro. Nothing did a change from the college days, or we just transferred to the streets. So and we and what means that we were actually too poor now to actually go and do our ninja way out there. So we had to stay in our basement and be like the same keyboard warrior in the basement. But what happens is that in the streets, you had to have a car, a house, and those stuff. Now, bro. So that's the thing, now, bro. We call about privilege and stuff like that. So in the streets, this. So because I didn't have those luxuries, I actually go out in the streets now and be like, yo, I go to I actually have the podcast now to show you how actually got those privileges, I am for the person that out there so saying, oh, the boss out there so rich and all this. So you actually see the formula actually getting these stuff. Of how they actually got So oh, we actually got it now. So what will happen is that no. So the respect. So what happens is that no, we actually work for certain respect. So I come out and say, okay, boom, I earn the days of drinking and stuff like that. Work for the days of drinking and working for the days of drinking. I actually come in and say, yo, those drinking days or stuff like that. I was acting stupid and stuff like that, and girls will see me and be like, "Oh my God, Colin Draco or Colin looks so stupid or stuff like that." We looking those stuff, but yo, we actually work for the privilege. We weren't drinkers before. We actually reached the legal ages of drinking, and we work for the privilege of doing that. So, people in the third year be like, "Oh my God, they heard of the fame of Draco Malfoy and stuff like that wasn't I was who I was who I was. Regardless of I was who he was, bro. I was who he was, bro. It's just that we weren't there, bro. We weren't there. That's really I'd be like, oh my god, if I there's a different reality where I'd be like, oh my god, I go do this stuff like that. No. It's the same thing, bro. The same thing. It's like, yo, you go is in the street and be like, okay, the podcast is just a podcast. The podcast is just another way of me meeting the fans them again in a different way. So what is that the reason why I went to the university, is actually get the luxuries of getting those finer class of stuff and those up. And not only that, you become yourself, you become yourself in the university days, but at the same time you have to respect the fact that we aren't those persons, bro. So the galleys could become more of the galleys and all these stuff and all those. But my hall, the standards of our hall was that no, the woman there. And that's the thing about facade. You feel that a high class woman there, and go in another place just. But you know, there's a reason why I would say okay, boom, we go. I was from our year, a girl or a boy from there, we see ourselves in the same shirt. No matter what disrespect, no matter how we come with that disrespect as your ideology, we go there and we in the same shirt. It's still with the same purple shirt, bro. And what will happen is that, bro, the connotation from my days, and what will happen is that, yo, I will come in from my gangster days, bro, in high school and be the nerd, bro. I'm gonna go there saying university, I'm expecting this. And what will happen is that I see my school people, I know, see my school people, and I'll be like, oh my god, see them there in the university days. What was the difference, bro? I didn't change. I didn't change. Just I say, oh, okay, now I'm out this, leaving the. I actually found my way in. They actually gave us the guideline in the high school days. They actually gave us the guideline to how to become a good students there. So what happens that the gangster way actually was not the way to make it there. So the nerd way was actually the way. The nerd way was actually the way to actually make it there. When I go to the university, bro, nothing did change, bro. Nothing did change. See me so what happens is that you actually go on my IG and see the person, see me this in my thing and say, oh, a person usually going through the taxing days, bro. Taxing day. Like, oh my god, you see me out there so going to Preston, bro. You're a Prestonite, bro. You're a shark, bro. You're a shark, bro. How what? You go up in the gangster days and the fish days. So you grow up in his era, bro. It growing up his era of saying, okay, yo, if you're this is a shark, is a fish, bro. But hey, so what will happen is that because of his portrayal, you see now here in the streets, out there so starving, just like back in the days you have things like people out there so stop eating ice cream because there was a negative portrayal on ice cream. So what will happen is that now they go out in the streets and you see that person's out there so starving, bro. Starving because they always not want to eat fish, bro. Starving, bro. That's the reason why, that my dorm was the most prestigious dorm at the time, and why the heart that was the ghetto all, because it was the first all. So it's like, these stuff are apparent, these stuff are apparent, but you have to actually reinforce them for that reason. You have to actually reinforce them. So it's like, we didn't change. We didn't change. We come back and it's the same thing, bro. It's similar at the same place, bro. We come back at the same place, bro. So it's like, yo, so we are the same people at the same place. So the podcast, that's the thing about the podcast. What's for the core fans, for the core fans. And then, where does that, what happens that actually I love the podcast more. So it's just like, yo, the podcast is just a new way of actually coming. And what means that no different people coming now from those, those universities actually coming and listening to. I know, not that, no, bro. What means that actually I saw the podcast, and what happened is that I was there at the university, bro. I was the same people at the university, the same people, same cream at the crop rising at the top, bro. And podcast, just like the same thing, bro. Revolutionary idea, bro. And same people at the same place, and I'm at the same place, bro. Doing the same things, bro. Yeah, I'm the same person. We're the same person, and we didn't change it, bro. It's the same place, same place. But this is just a different way of me just becoming who I said I was, bro. Like, it's just a different me of becoming who I said I was, bro. So it's like when they actually attribute the name, though. So they actually attribute, bro, man. Like my identification to say my name is Colin, bro. But even that Colin, there are two variation of two L's and one L now. So there's a variation of that. But and then you have the days now of me being Draco Malfoy, and now I'm the scientist now that actually came in and do this stuff. So we didn't change, no, bro. No, we didn't change at all, bro. We didn't change. I become who I said I was, bro. We became who we say we were, and we you you became who you became you were, bro. It's like, yo. So what happened is that the podcast was what happens that in a normal world, I would be in the same place doing the same stuff. They would call me the same names, bro. But I would be the same person trying to do the same thing. It's just that what happens what happens I was trying to do it my way, bro. I was always trying to do it my way, trying to get the best of both worlds. Best of both worlds, bro. Like, that's the thing. So that's how I actually got my name, bro. I was actually just doing the same things, trying to get the best of both worlds. So that's the reason why a gangster out there to get the gangster girls and all those stuff. Because I was this was out there not trying to get the gangster girls. All those stuff. I was always trying to go to the they told us to go to the best school. I pick a school. So I actually pick a school and they told me that Herbert Marshall was a school to go, bro. So I went to the Herbert Marshall, bro. And when I went to Herbert Marshall, bro, I realized that, yo, the gang the gangster life. And that's the reason why I'd be like, yo, this other episode I talk about, my days up in the city, bro. 'Cause the city days, bro. We didn't change that, bro. It just now I'm out here so feeble now. So this is my way of outlet now. I'm out here so what? This is my way of outlet now. I'd be like, yo, the podcast. So I didn't change it now. It's just that, yo, we out this hard to um change and stuff like that. So it's like, yo, yeah, yeah. So it's like, so what happens is that, yo, in the high school days we see the same people, bro. So it's like the podcast is me saying like, yo, I would the, the podcast is just for the core fans, bro. To say that, yo, we were doing the same thing. Bro. But what happens is that at the time there were different falling outs. There were different falling outs, just like different time. Or what happens is that that's the thing when I actually reach this level, bro. You're out there so portraying who you are and out there so separating from the pack. Out there so separating and becoming who you are, bro. Becoming more of who you are. So it's like, okay, yo, out there so becoming who we are, bro. And then you have idols, bro, that always trying to come in and become who we are, bro. become who we are. So that's the reason for the podcast. So that, okay, it's how we actually become who we are, bro. We are to becoming who we are. So is that nothing? Oh, we actually became who we are, bro. It's just that, just like back in the days, and that's the thing, bro. Right? That's the thing. If back in the days, even back in the days, bro, we, I was even back in the days, now, I usually see these people doing this stuff in the podcast and all this. So that's the reason why I them. I usually see the people them do those stuff, but I couldn't even do it right then, bro. I couldn't even do it right then. I didn't have the means to do it. Yo, but no, I'm not actually just doing it now. And what happens that becomes a luxury now, and everybody over there will be like, oh yeah. So what happens that you actually get closer and you're like, oh wow. Yeah. So that's basically for this episode. I'll be like, yo, it's just a thing just to remind us that we actually made it from somewhere and we didn't change. We didn't change. It's just that somebody may not actually be where we at now and actually want some encouragement. Like back in the days, now, back in the days, we needed these encouragements, now, bro. So we actually just giving those encouragements back. And it's like, okay, we actually need these encouragements. So now we're actually giving them back now. And it's like, okay, yeah. So that's the thing now. I be like, we didn't change. This is a different outlet of doing the same thing that I was doing before, bro. It's just that what happens that what I was preaching about back then didn't change, bro. Alright, what I was preaching about back then, we didn't change. We just like getting a year older, bro. We just got a year older, and we actually just honor. How happens that we actually have to work for this stuff now. So that's the thing now. We'll be like, okay, it's not a luxury anymore. We actually have to go out and work for these stuff. Bro. I guess that's the difference. We actually have to go and work for the stuff them. So that's the difference, bro. Yeah. So that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode. Yeah.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.